Yeah. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7.
Islam, family. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Well, we want to rise and give all praises to the great God, Allah, Father God, Allah, and honors to His holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. Want to welcome our Moorish kin again to another Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate session. And we most definitely give honors to our Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and Bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything that our prophet brought to make us a nation. You know, I am your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Amohadi Shabazz El. My ancient committee and high name being the same as Dr. Shedawar Mintiel Mohejet Shepsuel. And we're looking forward to a grand class this morning. So at this time, without further ado and delay, let us bring forth our beloved brother, Consul General of Texas, Dr. Marvin Nathaniel Evans Bey, so that he may open us up with our Moorish American prayer and law. Islamism.
Islam, Islam, Islam. In gratitude. Yes, I'm Dr. Marvin Evans Bey, the Consul General of the Texas Consulate, rising and giving all praise to the great God Allah, giving highest honors to His prophet, our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. Give high honors to our theocratic government, our Moorish American government. Give high honors to our 8-1. I give high honors to all of our officials. I give high honors to this class, our E.A.R.S class, as well as I give honors to you, Dr. Shedawar Mintiel Mohejet Shepsuel, for hosting and instructing this Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate class. And I give honors to everything that is Moorish, our flag, seal, emblem, our divine constitution, Holy Quran, Book of Ali, our 101, 102s, Exhuman of a Nation, all of our divine revelations. I give honor to the forerunner, Dr. Marcus Mosaic El, as well as I give honors to the ancestors whose shoulders we stand upon. And I'll open our class according to law. Ya Allah amnuheru makunetaru. Ya Allah abheteru. Ya Allah Ma'at Haru, Ya Allah Hoteparu, Ya Allah Heru, Ya Allah Ma'at Herkuti, Ya Allah Awajet Dejuti, Ya Allah Patiam Sutet, Patiam Heru, Ya Allah Bamatuti, Al Hedges Ray Abtuali. Amen. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. In transliteration, O Allah, the Father of the universe, O Allah, the Father of love, O Allah, the Spirit of truth, O Allah, the Spirit of peace, O Allah, the Spirit of freedom, O Allah, the Spirit of justice, O Allah, you are my guide, O Allah, you are my salvation. Pardon self, Morris. O Allah, you are my guide, you are my protection, you are my guide, my salvation, through your holy prophet, through Ali, Islam. And I'll begin with our divine constitution of Morris America. Salvation, our guide, unity. The divine constitution of Morris America. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the chairman of Morris America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the prophet and the grand body of Morris America. The assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Morris America. The bylaws. Act 2. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of North America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government because by being a Morris American, you are a part and a parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Morris America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of Morse America. This meeting is now open according to the law. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I'll turn this meeting over to our Grand Secretary of the State of South Carolina, Dr. Dendra Anita Okurta Bay. Islam?
Islam, Islam, Islam. I am Dr. Dendra Anita Okurta Bay, but first let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act 1. I give honors to our National Assistant Grand Sheik for this class. And I give honors to you, Council General of Texas, Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay. I will be reading our chapter of the week coming from our Holy Quran, chapter 41. And it reads, Yehoshua appears fully materialized before Apollo and the Silent Brotherhood in Greece, appears to Claudius and Juliet on Tibus near Rome, appears to the priests in the Egyptian temple at Heliopolis. Apollo, with the Silent Brotherhood of Greece, was sitting in a Delphian grove. The oracle had spoken loud and long. The priests were in the sanctuary, and as they looked, the oracle became a blaze of light. It seemed to be on fire and all consumed. The priests were filled with fear. They said, a great disaster is to come. Our gods are mad. They have destroyed our oracle. But when the flames had spent themselves, a man stood on the oracle pedestal and said, Allah speaks to man, not by an oracle of wood and gold, but by the voice of man. The gods have spoken to the Greeks and kindred tongues through images made by man, but Allah, the one, now speaks to man through Yehoshua, the only Son, who was and is and evermore will be. The oracle will fail. The living oracle of Allah, the one, will not fail. Apollo knew the man who spoke. He knew it was the Nazarene who once had taught the wise men in the Acropolis and had rebuked the idol worshippers upon the Athenian beach. And in a moment, Yehoshua stood before Apollo and the Silent Brotherhood and said, Behold, for I have risen from the dead with gifts for men. I bring to you the title of your vast estate. All power in heaven and earth is mine. To you I give all power in heaven and earth. Go forth and teach the nations of the earth the gospel of the resurrection of the dead and eternal life through Yehoshua, the love of Allah made manifest to man. And then he clasped Apollo's hand and said, My human flesh was changed to a higher form by love divine, and I can manifest in flesh or in the higher planes of life at will. What I can do, all men can do. Go teach the gospel of this omnipotence of men. Then Yehoshua disappeared, but Greece and Crete and all the nations heard. Claudius and Juliet, his wife, lived on the Plantain in Rome, and they were servants of Tiberius, but they had been in Galilee, had walked with Yehoshua by the sea, had heard his words and seen his power, and they believed that he was Yehoshua made manifest. Now Claudius and his wife were on the Tiber in a little boat. A storm swept from the sea, and the boat was wrecked, and Claudius and his wife were sinking down to death. And Yehoshua came and took them by the hands and said, Claudius and Juliet, arise and walk with me upon the waves. And they arose and walked with him upon the waves. 1,000 people saw 3 walk on the waves and saw them reach the land, and they were all amazed. And Yehoshua said, You men of Rome, I am the resurrection and the life. They that are dead shall live, and many that shall live will never die. By mouth of gods and demigods, Allah spoke unto your fathers long ago, but now he speaks to you through perfect man. He sent his son, Yehoshua, in human flesh to save the world. And as I lifted from the watery grave and saved these servants of Tiberius, so Yehoshua will lift the sons and daughters of the human race, yea, every one of them, from darkness and from graves of carnal things to light and everlasting life. I am the manifest of love raised from the dead. Behold my hands, my feet, my side, which carnal men have pierced. Claudius and Juliet, whom I have saved from death, are my ambassadors to Rome. And they will point the way and teach the gospel of the Holy Breath and the resurrection of the dead. And that was all he said. But Rome and all of Italy heard. The priests of Heliopolis were in their temple, met to celebrate the resurrection of their brother Nazarite. They knew that he had risen from the dead. The Nazarite appeared and stood upon a sacred pedestal on which no man had ever stood. This was an honor that had been reserved for him who first would demonstrate the resurrection of the dead. When Yehoshua stood upon the sacred pedestal, the master stood and said, All hail! The great bells of the temple rang, and all the temple was ablaze with light. And Yehoshua said, All honor to the masters of this temple of the sun. In flesh of man there is the essence of the resurrection of the dead. This essence, quickened by the holy breath, will raise the substance of the body to higher tone and make it like the substance of the bodies of the plains above, which human eyes cannot behold. There is a holy ministry in death. The essence of the body cannot be quickened by the holy breath until the fix is solved. The body must disintegrate, and this is death. And then upon these plants, substance Allah breathes, just as he breathed upon the chaos of the deep when the worlds were formed, and life sprang forth from death. The carnal form is changed to form divine. The will of man makes possible the actions of the holy breath. When will of man and will of Allah are one, the resurrection is a fact. In this we have the chemistry of mortal life, the ministry of death, the mystery of deific life. My human form was wholly given to bring my will to tune with the deific will. When this was done, my earth tasks all were done. And you, my brothers, know full well the foes I had to meet. You know about my victories in Gethsemane, my trials in the courts of men, my death upon the cross. You know that all my life was one great drama for the sons of men, a pattern for the sons of men. I have lived to show the possibilities of man. What I have done, all men can do, and what I am, all men shall be. The master's look, the form upon the sacred pedestal had gone, but every temple priest and every living creature said, Praise Allah. Islam, Islam, Islam. I will now turn our class back over to our National Assistant Grand Sheik, Islam. Are you there, National Assistant Grand Sheik?
Islamism. Can you hear me, Goddess and Queen?
Islam, I can hear you well.
Islam. Like our beloved brothers say, all praise be to the great God Allah in the Moorish American national, in man, Islamism. We want to rise upon the seven and give honors. Again, praises to the great God Allah, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. Want to give honors to all of our people that are watching us in this live stream. And we just say gratitude for everything it is that you have done and all that you will do. And it's an honor to be here in this new era in time, uplifting fallen humanity. Praise be to Allah. So what we want to do, as we normally do, we want to come forth with a reading from our Book of Fire. And as we come forth, we're going to let our Moorish kin open up the way. We actually have page 185. Let's see. We are going to page 192. So if you will, we have our family volunteer for the reading. Islam. That brother Bati Bey?
Islam.
Okay, yes, sir. Well, we'll have you start at 185, good brother. And then you can read over to page, let me make sure I got this right here. Yeah, you can actually read over into the right above the infinite works of the ancient Moabites.
Islam.
Islamism. And
Islam.
then,
Islam.
all right, both of the goddesses. All right. Well, Sister
Ready.
In that order. Well, we'll allow you to come forth with the infinite works of the ancient Moabites.
Okay, what page that on, Godman?
188.
That's, page 188.
188. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see it. Mm-hmm.
And then let's see here. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure I got this demonstration on point here. Okay, actually, you can go to where right above in 190 where it says no one can honestly deny.
No one. Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, you can stop above that, and
Okay.
we'll let the Grand National Secretary of the State pick up there and take us on over into 192 right above who are the cities of India. Islam.
Islam.
Gratitude. All right. Brother Bati Bey, you may proceed.
Islam. First, I'd like to rise and give all manner of praise to Allah, honors to the Prophet, honors to our theocratic government, our royal council, our flag, seal, emblem, our divine constitution, our swift angels, our mufti, our citizens alike, honors to all the Moors that are hearing the sound of my voice, all the ones that will be here. Islam. And with that, I will begin. The Exhuming of a Nation, Pole Star chapter, dedicated to my daughters, Joshua Land, Naomi Pleasant Bay at age 15, and Zakaya Aliyah Amina Pleasant Bay, age 12, the first Moorish American children of freedom. They were born free Moorish American nationals, but were kidnapped from our home and declared wards of the state by the slave courts of Maryland. But when our vermin of jurisdiction and chapter 24 of this book challenged those that know law, we, the Moorish Americans, were declared victorious, res judicata, with prejudice. Thanks, Joshua Linda and Zakaya, for being strong goddesses when an entire corporation opposed you and for representing a new nation. You will see that nation recognized in your lifetime. What you have done, they too, all 60 million, must do also. Islam. The illustrious Noble Jurali asked a master question, number 14. Why are we Moorish Americans? In this chapter, another great question concerning the people and asked today by every nation that is truly seeking peace will be answered. It is the question asked in many hearts. by many tongues and in countless ways within the jurisdiction of the United States. Mankind, and indeed most knowledgeable members of every nation of the earth ask, who are the ex-slaves in America? Secretly, those who have found themselves lost in their minds and they ask themselves, who am I? And who are my people? Others will ask, what should I put for my race on this application or my child's birth certificate? Negro, colored, Black, African American, other? Still, concerned people silently ask it of themselves. How should I address or identify this person so as not to offend? Major employers, speakers, and officials are debriefed annually as to what is today's political correct identification of yesterday's Negroes. Those who remember when people were called colored ask, what will they call themselves next? A few ask, what is the Asiatic black man? Who are the Moors? There is also a segment of Earth soldiers who become blanched with fear when they ask themselves, my God, I know who they are, but what will happen when they come to know? The unsung master question of these questions is, who are the Moorish Americans? The Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, described the Moorish Americans constitutionally as the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. He not only declared this to be his nationality, but the nationality of his people as well. No one has returned to the Moorish their true identity, but Drew Ali, before or since. Warning: do not accept anyone's description of the Moorish Americans except as described by Noble Drew Ali. Please note that MSTFA and no other religious organization is the birthplace or descendant nature of the Moorish Americans. The Moorish Americans, with the answer to this question, can solve the Negro problem in all forms of racism and bring infinite peace in the United States and the nations of the earth. Anyone with the answer to this question also know who were the Negroes, Blacks, colored, NBCs, people prior to the slave labels. How did they become the persons, italicized, they are? And know when they will cease to exist as commercial property. The correct answer enclosed being released to the public for the first time since 1929 will be the love, truth, laws, history, and prophecies. It will be the only true answer. Like all truth, the answer must be immutable, comprehensive to those seeking freedom and saving power from seen and unseen wraths. Indeed, it took over 10,000 years in the making of the Moorish American. The last 400 years of these millenniums, they were being cleansed and purified in their infinite preparation to take their rightful place in the affairs of men. For the journalists, educators, parents, citizens, and all social, political, and religious leaders alike who have asked, what shall we call him? When referring to the plight of Africans in North America, finally, one name, praise the great God. But why Moorish American? Throughout this book, reiteration is constantly upon the whys. No man can be Negro, Black, or colored, or Ethiopian. So how could a man be Moorish American? Why not Atlantean or Nubians? Why not Black Muslims? Why not call them Moorish Science Temple? Are the Moorish Americans a legitimate nation? If so, when did they come into existence? Can they stand untrammeled in the world courts of men? Why are they appearing now? How can they be a pure and clean nation? Shouldn't they hate the name America? What does this nation have of their own to offer to other nations of the world? Dear readers, these questions and numerous others will be answered within the various sections of this chapter. The answer are for goodness, peace, and happiness. Some will be revealers of the light and will provide an understanding to what Noble Drew Ali brought to America in 1913 AD. Other answers will be eye-opening. Still, in others, it will stimulate research via computers or a few hours spent in an up-to-date library. The major problems with being an NBC are they are not a people, and we're made in the image of a partial person. So they shall never reach the status of nationhood. Since the object of this chapter is to reveal the Moorish Americans as the nation in question, it would be comprehensively befitting to give a formal and comprehensive definition to the word nations. What is a nation? Black's Law Dictionary, 1994. Nation. A people existing in the form of an organized rural society, usually inhabiting a distinct portion of the earth, speaking the same language, using the same customs, possessing historical continuity, and distinguished from other like groups by the racial origins of characteristics, and generally but not necessarily living under the same government and sovereignty. In America, constitutional law, the word state is applied to the several members of the American Union, while the word nation is applied to the whole body of the people embraced within the jurisdiction of the federal government. Webster's Universal College Dictionary, 1997, nation. 1. A body of people associated with a particular territory that is sufficiently conscious of its unity to seek or to possess a government peculiarly its own. 2. Territory of country itself. Through the above definitions, very little pondering is needed to see the word nation has no application to the so-called NBC people. It is a shame they think this word applies to everyone except them. The tragedy is every day the African Americans mingle and co-mingle with citizens of various nations, but the words nation, nationality, national, nationalized, and national and nationhood does not ring their doorbell. Still, the word nation comes as no surprise to all other citizens. Clearly, a nation is a homogeneous group of the human family bearing one free national name, their nationality, sharing in an ancestral heritage and occupying a landmass of their name. Nations are usually outgrowths of families, tribes, and societies formed from men, women, and children with like social obligations, history, and birthrights. What nations are not? Too often, members of organizations, religious affiliations, social and secret groups confuse their similar interest and commandeer with being a nation. This is a mistake and the fruits of deception. Even with the best of intentions, are always painful. Members of organizations, even religious base, commonly share allegiance to their group and yet are citizens of a different nation or vice versa. The Moorish Science Temple of America, the Nation of Islam, Ku Klux Klan, MOVE, etc., are lawfully chartered organizations only and should not be misconstrued as being a nation. Moorish Holy Quran 48:4. In fact, any and all lawful chartered organizations in the United States, whether religious or civic, are subordinate to the jurisdiction of the status quo and have no power of national autonomy of their own. They are granted the privilege to function within the laws of a nation by that nation, but are not a nation within the jurisdiction of the said nation. This is not to negate the good works of these organizations, but to highlight their totality to that of being a people and their true lack of muster in existing as a nation. Even the powerful Moorish Science Temple of America organization, founded by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, is not to cause any confusion with the facade of being a nation, and is not to overthrow the laws of its said Moorish American government, and is to obey that government hereby. In brief, the MST and its members belong to the Moorish American citizens of Moorish American government, not the other way around, as commonly assumed. Study Act 5. The fact that Noble Drew Ali is both founder of the MST organization and the Holy Prophet of a clean and pure nation has been grossly misunderstood by Moorish American members. These two stations are not the same. One is to unfold unto the other. Organizations have members, nations have citizens. Citizen is a member of a nation, but members of an organization do not muster national citizenry. Many organizations, especially in North America, are sharing the primary goals of teaching the values of nationhood, e.g., laws, principles, history, religions, language, literature, government, and flags. They are to be commended for teaching these unifying principles of actions. Still having a flag, etc., and no inherent land in which it can be staffed is a good organization, but very much in the want of nation status. The so-called Negroes, either freed or slave, have been trying everything from churches to politics, and from Freemasonry to cultural awareness to be the U.S. citizens, as has been lawfully standardized by the European rulers. In the 1960s, Negroes were told it is more fashionable to be black and proud. They have developed their own black gods for their black religions, black history, black family, black so forth. Every kind of black group imaginable, but still has no identity. And for 500 years, they have failed on every span of ground to reach the unreachable and elusive first-class citizen. The bottom line is all NBC must cut bait from these perpetual losers and move into the truth of being themselves. Organizations are simply not nations. How modern African nations began in the Americas and adjoined islands, captured Africans in the hold of a slave ship, Library of Congress. The infinite ministry of a slave ship. Ooh, let's go. Infinite ministry of a slave ship. The origin of most new African nations in the West may have begun in the belly of a European slave ship. The illustrious prophet Noble Drew Ali says slavery is a divine issue. From the archives of the Library of Congress is the above standard diagram of a slave ship. From an infinite perspective, this gruesome picture captures the reality of mankind's inhumane evil violations against the fathers and mothers of the human family. Meanwhile, from the infinite point of view, in the belly of every slave ship were the seeds of future nations, tribes, and families, e.g., Cubans, Jamaicans, Trinidadians, Moorish Americans of North America. Every nation on earth today began from a former nations or families that was bearing one free national name or names. To every nation, there is a divine origin manifested through the inheritance of their forefathers. Noble Drew Ali instructed the Moorish people, there is a divine origin in every nation of you because they are the children of one father. See Appendix, Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 25. This means that the nations began from infinite to the finite earth plane, which they call mother, and to the source from which all nations must return, they call father, creed, or religion. Noble Drew Ali said, walk in the paths which he hath opened before thee. Moorish Holy Quran 35:29. Every man needs to worship under his own vine and fig tree. Quran cover. When nations honor their creator and the earth, this is called honoring thy father and thy mother. Moorish Holy Quran 48:9. On the other hand, when man loses his way, he often will try to hide in a religion, the father and on various degrees denouncing the mother, or get so caught up in the mother's manifest, the earthland, they call themselves gods with rule over her in a aesthetic defiance of their father. Either way is in error, and the man child is not squandered between his duty and his nature. Therefore, he remains unhappy. More Holy Quran 35:21. The child grows unbalanced. Then there are the religious-based organizations. Beware. History shows people who disguise themselves as a nation under the tenets of a religion will war against others and take their land in the name of their God, or die trying. The paths called religions in their perfected state are as pure as the creator from which it has derived to each nation. Yet it cannot be confined to one nation because all truths are one. No nation or group can place national restrictions to a divine creed, e.g., patents, copyrights, and boundaries. Some have marquee for all souls, but its core is I, mine, and ours. But that too they call religion. All men are endowed with the inalienable right to the straight way created within themselves, just as all children have a right to their father. See third eye. Histories and current events reveal man to make demigods of their religion. All man-made religions are used to separate, isolate, and isolate the self-proclaimed God chosen few group of people against the inferior sinners, heathens, damned to hell, unbelievers, wretched devils, those Muslims, you Jews, them Christians, Hebrew roster, rain dance, occultists, secret society, sign wearing, goddamn fools. That was his name. Most of the earthbound thinking is rooted in scholarly misunderstanding of religious segments in the aftermath of the prophets. Man then reduces the message to their earthly vision and named them Buddhism, Mosaic law, Confucianism, Mohammedanism, or after some African accepted as gods to the Europeans, e.g., Zeus, Diana, Armia, Minerva, Venus, Isis, Osiris, and of course, Yehoshua. To Europeans, these two are gods. Nevertheless, these religious promoters and proselytizers are never nations. Surely, only those who have been there and seen God can show others clear out footprints of how they went that way. More Holy Quran 4:15-16. The strength of a nation is sustained in its ability to see its creator through the creed and the principles of their forefathers. Noble Drew Ali says, the nations of the earth see Allah from different points of view. He names the part of Allah he sees, and every nation has a name for Allah. More Holy Quran 8:17-18. It was because the Moors ceased honoring the creed of their forefathers and became disobedient, they were enslaved and had their nationality taken away from them in 1774. This is when the word Negro, Black, and Color was given to the Asiatics of America, who were the Moorish descent. More show the Quran 47:16-17. In U.S. criminal law, this genocidal act is classified as denationalization. This has always been a crime among the families of nations. Never before in the history of slavery has the national identity of victims been so eroded by the rulers. The point to be observed here is prior to enslavement by the states in America, the Moorish were of nations without a doubt, because only a nation can have a nationality, not an organization. They had to have free national names in order for nationality to be taken away. In essence, someone or something must already have a free national name, be nationalized in order to have had their nationality taken away, denationalized. In order to become more knowledgeable of the awakening giant, the Moorish Americans it is necessary to understand some pertinent parts of their history. Islam, Islam, Islam. With this, I would turn the meeting over to Diane Carter Bay or Dendra Curtin Bay for her portion of the reading. Islam.
Islam, God man. Islam. Infinite works of the ancient Moabites. When we were angels. Question. What is an angel? An angel is a thought of Allah manifest in flesh. Question. What is the everlasting gospel? It is a saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient fathers by his prophet. 61. Question. What is the modern name for those angels? Asiatics. Question. What is the shade of their skin? Olive. Question. What are the Moorish Americans? Question. Are the Moorish Americans any relation to those angels? Yes, we all have the same father and mother. It is difficult for a people to see their perfection from a wretched perspective, or to realize their own godliness from the hopelessness of a slave state, only because some blind person told them they were not perfect. Yet, in the heart of every member of the human family speaks a voice which remembers they are made from a perfect source. The mind of man, unlike the computer made in its likeness, cannot forget. See Moorish Holy Quran, the soul of man. When man goes back in mind into the land of fleshless things, where things are made of thought, what he recalls is when we were angels. Noble Drew Ali, when applying the word ancient, is referring to the state when we were gods. This was when our ancient forefathers' will was not strong enough to break the ethers of life from their native plane, which were in harmony with Allah. Moorish Holy Quran 11:31. They were consciously aware of their relationship to the cherubim, seraphim, and other angels. Moorish Holy Quran, see chapter 1. Being spirits, they would transmute in and out of any form of deific life and manifest at will. Their mission was to master and name, give a true attribute / summation, all form of deific life and manifest at will. Pranala. All things of earth, land, and universe. With this force of love divine, he could enter the essence of every planet, plant, bird, fish, beast, or creeping thing without becoming that life. He named everything because every living thing was a deity made flesh. He named each once and did so in accordance to the totality of its character and purpose, and each within its nature was in harmony with Allah. That name was a perfect description of their especial life form. This To this day, these works made man Lord of every kingdom to every plane of life. He knew himself and was himself, the executive ruler and vicegerent of all worlds, seen and unseen. He governed with the highest power of his native planes: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. This is called God's grace, or the circle of life. Appendix Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 1 and 11. It was from this lofty estate he used the keys of civilization. The Egyptians in the monuments misknown the Sphinx preserved the era of godly events by the ancient ones called time travelers by modern man. The godhead of an African man coming out of the body of a lion was captured from the plane of thought and carved in 65-foot high stone, nearly the length of a football field. The Egyptian adepts also knew man, spirit man, was as perfect as the source from which he came and could never die, but indeed would return in another era. In or in other olive-skinned bodies. When we appear in our first physical form, which carnal man called this event Adam, and we fell in a lesser state of divinity, ungodly thoughts, parentheses, of the sluggish will, which is known as fallen humanity. See Adam and Eve. The human part we call Asiatic, which means earthbound, are to mother's breast, and our true higher self we call Muslim. The latter is our total recall of will to be in harmony with our creative plan, which at times we call the great God, parenthesis number 94. These assignments and greater occurred when we were angels doing the work of God, number 38 and 39. When the Moabites were themselves, a brief Moorish history. True history will reflect eras when Africans were the first to inhabit the earthland. For this reason, to this very day, his birthright is called the Holy Lands, because it where the God self was first formed in human flesh, outside the then Eden, the rest of the earthland he called Asia. Question: who were Adam and Eve? They are the mothers and fathers of the human family, Asiatics and Muslim. Question: where did they go? They went into Asia. Question: what is the modern name given to their children? Asiatics. These events occurred before the cataclysm, which Drew Ali called the Great Earthquake, which created the Great Atlantic Ocean. Moorish Holy Quran 47 ayat 7. The continent of what is now called Africa was the centrifugal birthplace of the divine origin of the Asiatic nation. Moorish Holy Quran chapter 25. Allah originated all Asiatic nations. The pale-skinned man, through ancient Moorish scientists, was later cloned by these African gods after themselves. However, the man-made man, could not be originated with a heart, the spirit heart, and possess an inanimate center. Hence, the earthbound character and chemical makeup of the hueless ones came to be a destruction and warlike nature, which was inharmonious, disease, and reproach to the sun and omnipotencies of life. Yet they too were shadows of deities made with flesh. Because of their detachment from the truth, parenthesis God, the pale-skinned people and those who accepted their teachings were cast out of the Holy Land and imprisoned into the cloud-covered mountain and lands of Eurasia, where they remained until the advent of Moses. Still until this day, the nations of Europe will rather make a false claim of an ancestral origin to the monkeys of Africa, because acknowledgement by their Moorish before acknowledgement by their Moorish creator. See Adam and Eve, Freemasonry. People with short memories or those suffering from selective amnesia do not understand the reason why the Holy Lands today are European orchestrated war lands is because it is their final effort to bury the history of the gods that created them. Regardless to that prehistory story of Europeans, the families, tribes, and nation of Asiatics began from the holy birth land to form themselves kingdoms around the globe. Other Asiatics from these lands inhabited India, Persia, China, Japan, Australia, Arabia, Iraq, North, Central, and South America, and all islands of the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. All of these were melanated, drenched brethren of the Sunni man. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 47. These holy lands of sun-kissed people of olive hue extended from the upper Nile northward through the valley of Kemet, parenthesis Egypt, lands through today's Mecca, Jerusalem, and Moab of Canaan. It was these ancient Moabites who were the founders of the holy city of Mecca, Moorish Holy Quran 45:2. Then came the name Sunni, which means original or first. Also, the Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the Pharaoh of Egypt to settle and inhabit Northwest Africa. They were the founders and the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. It was the Moorish, a seafaring people, which had circumscribed the continent of Africa over 10,000 years ago. In fact, during the reign of Necho II, the gods of the Nile had circumnavigated the entire continent and drew maps so accurate until it looked like an aerial view of today. This is when the name Amexem, the first true and divine name of the continent, got its rise. They named every continent, sea, mountain, and waterway. It must be remembered, above all else, the entire earthland was given to the torch bearers of civilization. The ancient Moabites are homeowners of this planet mud. Question: what is the covenant of the great God Allah? Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earthland, which the Lord thy God Allah has given thee. The Moorish are not renters, squatters, gypsies, or nomads. They hold the title to their vast estate within each heart. The renters on earth are those who believe their life begins and ends in earth. They exist discordant to the harmonies of life, which breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. Question 69, 70, and 73. This is why it took a holy prophet to remind the Moors the key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations. Moorish Holy Quran 45:2. The Moorish know the earth's pulse and lifelines which breathe life from Allah. This is why they built major upward structures upon the pulses to ensure harmonious long life. Example given: pyramids, ziggurats, and the great river mounds of North America, along the Mississippi River from Louisiana through the Great Serpent Mound in Ohio up to the lakes. To this day, these mounds alone are proof of the Moorish indigenous status to the continent Americas. Noble Drew Ali taught the Moors, she, parenthesis, the earth is your home, and gave you the body from her womb. The universe, as far as your eyes can see, is just the road to your vast estate. But this is a new age, and the spirit of Aquarius has already made her debut of higher thought activity among men in flesh. Today, there are many of the families of nation, each claiming a portion of land named after themselves. And although this is not man's final abode, without a doubt, nationality is the order of the day. Is it not strange this nationality was the key deprivation to the Moorish enslavement? Is it not equally strange? Every person on earth has a nationality except those descendants of slaves still in the United States of America. Nationality is the axis that pivots all governments. It sustains committee among the nations for the former families of the earth are now recognized as nation, even to the smallest tribe, as the Peacock Nation of the Connecticut River, Foxwood Casino, E.T.R.L. are only about 500 citizens, small by comparison, but still a nation. It is sad but true. NBC are 60 million strong, parentheses authors estimate, but if you see 50 or more together for a duration exceeding 12 hours, it's because they are attending church or some other festival. Chinese make up about 25% of the Earth's population, with about 1,150,000,000 still a nation. The continent of Africa is home to 53 countries, totaling hundreds of nations. So-called Black people of North America are nearly 60 million strong, yet not a nation, and the only one not attached to the families of nations. Is there something in error with this picture? Authors note the Moorish is 60 million when they count themselves. Their enemy will always generously record them 3/5 of their whole. Everyone is described from forefathers and born into a nation. Nations are determined by the genealogy of the parents and the sovereignty in which they are born. The foundation of this acceptance and recognition is a necessity spun from the global expression of the human race in accordance to their national vine and fig tree. More simply put, your nationality is your branch to the tree of nations and the free national name from which you are recognized. One's nationality is one's true identity. Islam, Islam, Islam. I will now turn it over to our National Grand Secretary of State. Islam.
Islam, gratitude, Dr. Hatshepsut Tutankhamun Bey, rising, giving praises to Allah. Honor to our Prophet, honor to our E.A.R.S class this morning, honor to all of our Moorish kin that open our meeting according to law, and to our host, our National Assistant Grand Sheikh. No one can honestly deny that as the label on the face of a product identifies the item for the consumer, like so, a nationality identifies the total character of a nation. As no one will see the value of an improperly named product, likewise, no nation has genuine trust for an improperly labeled people. The one free national name of a nation is not accidental words that just happen to pop up into the minds of the people. Such historical names often derived from the lands of origin, patriotic forefathers, and incorporates the divine and natural ethnology of an especial people. This is why Noble Drew Ali, an angel of Allah, declared, "This is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth." Act 6. What government on earth recognizes the Negro, Black, and colored as a people? The question remains, who are the Moorish Americans? How can they have the continuity of a nation and not be known? Actually, the Moorish existence has undergone a massive European-Arabian historical burial, especially during the periods between 1398 and 1998. There are 66 books compiling the Bible. 39 of these house the Old Testament, which itself is founded upon books taken from the Jewish holy book called the Torah. The majority of the books to the Old Testament reflect the historical and prophetic accounts from the 12 tribes of Israel, known collectively as Hebrews. Basically, it is their story that covers the time period from 3700 BC to 168 BC. Moorish history predates biblical history in excess of 5 million years. By no accurate claim is the Bible the only historical account of the human family. It is not the true beginning. Therefore, it is not, quote unquote, the word of the great God. In fact, it is not even the word of the Hebrews, but the word of the Greeks of Europe. See religion. It is a sign of a major prophet to leave a book containing the portion of the one truth brought through his people at that time. There are many books omitted from the Bible for various reasons, mainly because no prophet brought the Bible, nor was it ordained by the great God to be bound into a book. Indeed, each book was brought to a nation, called tribes, by their prophet for their salvation and comity. The foundation of the Bible, known first as Septuagint, Greek Biblios, was the Greeks' translation of the Hebrew holy books. This was during a time when Greek had become the official language of Palestine. Why is Palestine and pale skin harmonious? Noble Drew Ali speaks of this period. Question: why did Allah send Yehoshua to this earth? Answer: to save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nations of Europe who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time. The greatest omitted / cover-up throughout the Bible through this Greek connection was the presence of the African peoples and the Moabite Canaanite genealogy of Yehoshua. Yet, these olive-skinned tribes and nations founded over 90% of biblical history. Also, for those readers who are Bible-oriented, it would help them if they notice more closely every begot, beget, or begotten therein are through a national descent or tribal name, not by color or label. This explains why there are not Negro, colored, or black folks in the Bible or pre-United States history. Only the pale-skinned Gentiles of Japhet are the exception. In fact, the purposes of translation of the nations of Europe were removing the great moral, historical, and ancestral sinews of the biblical characters. They were completely cut off from obtaining many other books and over half the life of Yehoshua, 18 missing years until the advent of the prophet Noble Drew Ali in Egypt. Actually, the prophet of Allah revealed, quote, the reasons these lessons, end quote, the genealogy of Yehoshua with 18 years of the events, life works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age, which were secret lessons for all those who love Jesus, or Yehoshua. Have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. See Moorish Holy Quran, page 3. Naturally, King James, a strange forefather of notorious Frank and Jesse James, and his Shakespearean posse were the chief purloiners of the Moorish existence in the Bible. But there is no death to truth, although man may disguise it for a minute. So the Moabites from Adam through Boaz by Ruth to Yehoshua are there for the seekers of truth. Trace their tree of nationalities for the facts. The Arabian European defacement of the Moorish. It is always a shocking awakening when anyone views the so-called African Americans' historical slave trade down the noses of Arabian culture. What most Negro, Black, and colored people fail to realize, especially those who have so blindly rushed the rafts of their hearts into the swamps of what they think is Orthodox Sunni Islam, a person would find it about as difficult to separate Arabs from trading in slavery of Africans as deciphering wet from water. Although Africans are the paternal fathers and mothers of the people of ancient Havilah, parentheses Arabia, the genealogy of their sun-kissed parents has been openly despised into a caste system of perpetual dehumanization. For many centuries, long before the compiling of the first Bible and the lofty advent of Muhammad the Prophet, the commercial trade routes centered in the goddamn deserts of Arabia were littered open air markets, traveling traders and businessmen to and from the known world. Naturally, profits breed greed, which creates massive egos that leads to theft and murder. Nothing and no one were exempt from being sold or bought. Commodities, livestock, women, children, and men. While it is true Muhammad chose Islam from amongst the African religions for his people of Arabia, the new Arab converts, parentheses Muslims, would only lay down their lust for trade during salats, parentheses prayers. Outside the collective 30 to 45 minutes of daily mandatory prayer times, the kidnapping, dehumanizing, and selling of Africans has been considered a part of Arabia's gross national product. In fact, what is undoubtedly suffered as slavery by today's American Negro, Black, and Colored has been a natural part of Arab psyche. To the most upright Arab Muslim, the enslavement of infidels is a moral obligation and, above all other human excuses, to sell their African brethren has been dementedly understood as doing the will of Allah. For those who do not know, it was the old Arab traders that taught the Roman popes and their posse of Christian crusaders the art of African trading. From the 1920s to the late 1990s, this Arabian peddling art of direct sales by horse and wagons was so widely used in most urban cities and rural communities for the selling of everything from seafood to dry goods until most Negro, Black, and colored communities colloquially called these businesses Arabing. They would yell, "Get your watermelon red to the rhyme." Beyond the world's greatest kept secrets of the worldwide suppression of the missing 18 years of Yehoshua's life, purposely omitted from the Bible, and the mystery of the true identity of the so-called American Negro Black Africans, the Arabs during the 25 centuries are clearly the foremost authority in the lucrative business of African slave trading. Nobody wants to dialogue about the topic. It is considered politically incorrect for Western world powers to divulge the Arab influence into their internal affairs. And somehow it has become an unsung secret hidden well beneath the First Amendment's freedom of religion to reveal Arabian contributions to the denationalization of the West Africans so they could be reduced into slavery as Negroes, Blacks, and colored people. Denationalization is the true legal definition hidden within the 3/5 clause of the United States Constitution and the word person as used in its 14th Amendment. Noble Drew Ali said, "Every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact they did not honor the principles of their forefathers." But what makes the children of Arabia such great slavers of so many African nations? When the old-time religion was first introduced through Prophet Muhammad as Islam, its light revealed Meccans, Arabian merchants as expert slave traders. Today, most Muslims will speak proudly of Bilal as being the first convert to Islam under Prophet Muhammad's dispensation. Oh, did I mention Bilal was a slave from the East African kingdom of Abyssinia, parentheses Ethiopian? Brother Bilal was in fact an Abyssinian national, but also a slave in the markets of Mecca prior to this resurrection of Islam. There was no mistaking the tribal origin of Bilal because he was of such ripe olive, parentheses dark skin, until his hands were the same sun-kissed hue on both sides. This African national, in light of Muhammad, is the most renowned Muslim in the history of modern Islam. One would think, with all the Islamic holy smoke of piety, Bilal would be the last African subjected to Arabian slavery, right? Wrong. Arabs are addicted to the enslaving of spiritual human beings. Historically, Africans have been the preferred delicacy for this grotesque Arabian appetite. It is the so-called ex-slave American Muslim converts who are completely ignorant of this nearly 3,000-year-old predator that now comes under the holy cloak of al-Islam. It is in the chameleonic nature of any man or a people without the knowledge of the self to assume any surviving role of their environments. Acceptance of the very marks Negro, Black, and colored firmly implies I have no idea who I am. Still, it does not take a master historian to see the infinite grace and force of Islam, the world's first religious creed, has never changed the old Arab lust for enslaving Africans. Actually, Islam has been used by Arabs to subjugate the earth's population into either an Arabian thought pattern or be classified as infidels, Iblis, or Shaitan, to be looked down at as being 6 inches lower than a whale's turd. Superstitious Arabia thinks a non-Arab cannot be worthy of being a true Orthodox Sunni Muslim. This is why Noble Drew Ali instructs to think not with Arabia. The underlying point to be made here is this: Bilal was not the last East African to be enslaved through Arabia, not by a long shot. Islam. So at this time, we want to turn the meeting back into the hands of our host instructor, our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shadowin Menti and Mohamed Shepsuel. Islam?
Islam. Can you hear me, Goddess and Queen?
Loud and clear.
Gratitude, Islamism, and Islamism without the schism. Again, all praise be to Allah and the Moorish American National. Goodness gracious. We want to give honors to all of our scribes on the manifest for everything it is you brought forth and everything it is you will bring forth. You know, and it's going to pretty much be an open measure that we bring to the manifest. And we just want to do a revisiting because we were talking about the slay tool. Because we want to make sure that our family have a grand direction, so to speak, when we go into dealing with these tools. As we know, our Moorish kin are familiar with most of them, but it's nothing wrong with going to revisit certain things to just bring forth the clarity. That's using that hammer repetition again. We want to just go into just the preface, so to speak, or the introduction on the purpose of the slay. It's actually the same thing that we have been utilizing it for, you know, but just to go into it, we'll put some measures out here. So I want to start with the introductory remarks on this, and then we'll go into the actual document just to refine ourselves in this, because I know that we are familiar again with all of the main alphabets. Most of them we are familiar with. We just want to be able to again identify, you know, these anaglyphic indicators that a lot of people like to call determinatives when we are in our hieratic. And so let us go into this in special mention. It states introductory remarks. A year ago, I wrote an apology in the beginning of my book, Writing Late Egyptian, Beginner's Primer, because I did not include the hieroglyphic equivalents in the body of the text. And because I had no hieratic font, not knowing that I would be able to create a font prototype so quickly, I suggested that we might consider the long discarded project in the future. In 1865, W. Platy attempted to introduce a standard font for hieratic. That's a work to be looked into as well. Since then, all hopes of a standard hieratic font were discarded, and once and for all, according to Gardiner, writing in 1929. So basically, if we look at what's being said here, we can see that Gardiner was most definitely disingenuous, because in our other document dealing with our beloved Asiatic brother, he tell you that Gardiner had these hieratic documents, but he chose to not reveal them and came forth with the transcription of the hieroglyphs. This is why it's important that we read and we study, because we're able to pick up on these things if we read between the lines. Notice again, it said it was discarded once and for all, according to Gardenia, writing in 1929. So he gave up on that. You see? So it says
Islam.
now, Islam Grand National Secretary of State.
Pardon the self, National Assistant Grand Sheik. Are you displaying that on the board?
Yep. I thought I was.
We can't see it. Pardon self.
Praise. No, you that's what I be talking about. All is well. Hold up. We got it right here. Thank you, Grand National Secretary of State, because we definitely want our people to see this. Okay. So yeah, there it is right there. So it, again, it says since then, all hopes of standard hieratic font were discarded once and for all, according to Gardenia, writing in 1929. So it basically discarded means done away with. He took the nut out of the peanut, so to speak, and throwed away the hull, which is really the primary document. It says, now 70 years later, I am pleased to offer through this present book an introductory hieratic font for late Egyptian based on the standardized stroke sequence. It says this font in paleography provide a beginning step in a new approach to studying hieratic text. So that's the purpose of this particular document. You see, it gives beginning steps, which is where we are along the way when it comes to the hieratic, because nobody have, taught on these things definitively, so to speak, that we have seen in the so-called Kemetic Egyptology community. It states the stroke sequence manual presents the first systematic ordering for any possible hieratic sign, ligature, or group writing. The Gardenia sign list provides a cross-reference with that long established classification system. As I come to end of working, it says on this reference work, I realize it falls short of its ultimate goal. As a paleography, it does not yet accurately reproduce the handwriting of any particular Egyptian scribe. See, this is somebody that's honest in setting out what they put out here. You see, they ain't saying that they didn't come to the conclusion that this is the exact measure here, right? But watch what they say. As a font manual, it does not yet provide a simple solution for every hieratic sign. Furthermore, the two goals of the work might rightly be considered to be in opposition to one another. Now, the thing is about it, since this has been produced or printed, this particular document, we have now our AKU tool. We have the molar tool. So everything that they fell short of in this particular document is recovered in everything else. So you can actually vet the signs in here that's coming from the late and go all the way back to, really the first expression of the hieratic text when you deal with the molitude in the AKU, so that is a blessing in and of itself. We also have a new tool where we can deal with all of them and the Demotic as well. So there's nothing really stopping us, from being able to go into understanding these languages. Just take time. And like I say, I'm just trying to create a vehicle, so to speak, to speed the process so we won't have to go through years and years of research. And so this is why we sort of throw our family out there in the water when we come forth, so we automatically know how to swim. You know what I mean? And that's a grand concept, And so again, we coming from the professor drawing. And our family has been doing good. The scribes have been doing good. You all have unfolded overnight, and we are actually where we need to be. All we have to do is refine ourselves where we are, and stay studying, and we can only get greater. Like I say, this is a lifetime journey. But trust me, You know, we in the process, like I said, where we are, you know, getting ready to deal with the text as we spoke of recently. You know, we have the knowledge we need to do that, you know, but it's a little more complex, you know, to go into dealing with these hieratic papyri, you know, which we ain't done with the papyri of E.A.R.S. We're going to pick back up on where we left off at, but we want to point these things out so that we'll be able to identify these things. And that will give us more clarity when we are looking at certain hieratic. You see, praise be to Allah, this Moorish methodology is the beginning of the methodology of the hieratic. Because if somebody else among our people did it wrong based on the rules that Rome created, then our people would be looking at that as the standard. And then when we came behind that, they'll try to make it look like everything else is wrong, just like they're doing now with the so-called hieroglyphics that they have. You know, and they made a grand point in here similar to the point I made, is where you'll see it in a minute. It says the ultimate goal of paleography is to analyze past handwriting. So that's what this slave tool is. It's an analytic tool. It says handwriting variability. It says as a dating and locating tool. The goal of creating a font is to standardize a systematized writing. It says at the risk of doing either, I have endeavored to take a middle course in this introductory reference work and try to do both. It is introductory because it does not replicate any paleographic hand completely. You see, we can see the replications though in Moeller's tool and in the Aku, so that's okay. And it does not provide anything close to a complete set of fonts. It does provide a wide variety of both paleographic styles and fonts. It also provides an easy reference system, and that's what it is, a referencing system, whereby hieroglyphic equivalents for different hieratic signs can be studied. And that's basically what the brother from our Asiatic brother was saying, you know, creator of a lot of these different tools that we have. You know, he was basically saying that unfortunately, it's a sad case that most of our people have been put out here to study hieratic along the side of the hieroglyphics because they hid the hieratic and put the hieroglyphic out there as if it was the original source material. We can't help what we have before us and what we got to study, but it's good though, because it's sharpening us up to where we can begin to correct those who look at the language as pictorials and so forth and so on. So that's no problem. That's neither here nor there. It says, in that respect, it is also a useful supplement to Moeller's century-old reference work, which we may eventually replace. So you see, they already got, and Moeller is a great expression, you know, but notice they are looking at trying to deal with a replacement for that demonstration. You know, and so that's Sheldon Lee Gosling, right? So looking at this family, once we go into it, here's the other portion of it. Notice it's saying stroke sequence manual. It says this book provides a first effort in organizing Egyptian hieratic writing according to a stroke sequence. This follows a rigid order so signs may be located and identified. And that's exactly what we do. We use it to locate and identify the hieratic hieroglyphs part itself. It says, however, the stroke order may not be as certain for some signs, particularly the more complex single signs, ligatures, and group writing. Without a doubt, there will be some disagreement about the stroke order of some signs, and ancient scribes were certainly not as consistent as we might like. And we know this from looking at some of the signs ourselves. There is no consistency when you go from dynasty to dynasty. You know, like when you look at certain words, for example, in what we call the Arabic language or the Hebrew, you know, it's exactly as it is. The only time you'll see a change in the style is when people get calligraphic or go into the calligraphy. expression, and that's just like a freestyle writing, but other than that, the basic alphabet in these different languages, you would notice that they are pretty much etched in stone, so to speak. So it says, without a doubt, there will be some disagreement about the stroke order of some signs, and ancient scribes were certainly not as consistent as we might like to aid us in discerning a systematic order. And this is why, just looking at the aspect of the stroke sequencing, like they were saying, they didn't have, an actual idea of knowing what the original scribes wrote. That's honesty right there, because most people will create something like they did with Champollion and then tell you this is what the ancients taught. That's like me right now taking our language that we have, the Meteorate and Mari that we created for us. And then I go to saying, well, this alphabet here, now we know that our language, the language itself, consists of what we call Ibero-Egyptian. But if I were to say this is the original Egyptian alphabet, and I have you thinking, okay, the way we put it in our sequencing recently, that this is the way it was being demonstrated anciently, without being able to show you that, that ain't good. No, we showing you it derived from the Kemetic text, but we came up with our own alphabet, which is the same thing what Champollion and them did with the hieroglyphics, but they lied to the people by making them think the ancients was the one that created what they created. You see, that's the difference between the matter, but this shows you how confusion and conflict can be brought on the manifest when one is disingenuous. So anyway, it says the following is one possible order for all connecting marks and main strokes for all single and double groups. Longer sequences following the same organizational pattern, numbers following a comma, are placed after all following a dash. And it says following the original scribal hand as closely as possible. And they give like, so 11 and 8 or 2, or 11 and 8 or 11 8 are placed after 11 8 and 2 with the dash. It says, thus it should be easily to identify similar types of signs. So these are basically to aid you and assist you in identifying the signs. I wish to, here we go again, Pan Ming Fen for her expert calligraphic consultation and standardizing stroke orders. Now notice this is another Asiatic individual. These are not European, so we can see this document and who was behind it. It's mostly our family, of the Asiatics. And if you look close at the writings of Chinese, or Japanese, if you want to call it, this is actually very close to the hieratic tongue. And in fact, language. In fact, E. Wallace Budge himself admitted that they concepts of determinatives was actually taken from the Chinese. You see what I'm saying? So these were systems that they put together and piecemealed together based on other languages, and then they came up with what they call their determinatives, which we are calling anaglyphic indicators. Because we don't want our people, if we just say determinatives and we keep saying that, our people gonna begin to think about, what the pictures in the hieroglyphic look like, and we want to isolate that from that. And so when we say anaglyphic determinatives, we are letting it be known that these are what we're referring to, in the hieratic, even though in the pictorial expression they have a more metaphysical meaning behind them. They actually represent also people, places, and things, as opposed to letters in the form of an alphabet. So it says, for her expert, we thank Pan Ming Fen for her expert calligraphic consultation and standardizing the stroke orders. Without her help, this manual would have not been as consistent. So they came in here with all the different numbers and, the sequences and, everything that was put out here, you know, in this sequence and manual. It says, we of course have no evidence, listen to this, that Egyptian hieratic signs were organized in this manner. See, that's again honesty. You know, if this would have been stated by Gardenia, you know, if it would have been stated by what's the guy named Champollion, we'll be in a better place than we have been when it comes to dealing with this language. Even E. Wallace Budge, you know, we can even give honors to him for his honesty, because he'll tell you his stuff wasn't nothing but guesswork. You know, he told y'all that type of stuff. You know, he didn't know what he was writing. And, you know, anytime somebody come together to do a work like that right there, you can guarantee it's going to be some blunders, misrepresentations, and outright mistruths. You know what I mean? So that gives the other people coming behind rooms of growth, where they can do the research that's necessary and not be moving in the blind. So it says, this is a new system for ordering the signs to assist modern scholars based on standard principles. It allows for the first simple, consistent group of classification and ordering of single signs, ligatures, and group writings. It also attempts to reflect a reconstruction of ancient writing sequences, which may become more understood with further application of this analytical approach. In subsequent volumes of this planned series, we will present paleographic studies of a particular ancient text and study the individual style of the ancient scribes in detail to give a sense of the planned project and the nature of the font thus far developed. A section from the open lines of the Tale of the Doomed Prince is presented below as a sample. You know, and so they gave, you know, their style, and we can identify with these. We know these, we can tell by the look that, you know, these are not, we can tell that this was a font that was built for the system, but we can also look at certain things if we know what hieratic looked like and tell what some of these actual letters are. You know, and the thing is being able to identify, again, those things. For example, if I was just looking, like just going down, this would be considered, you know, what they call a determinative. This represents really heaven here. You know what I mean? You see the Sabah, the Sabat, they're in the same thing here. You know, and there are a couple of more of them out here that I can call out right here. This would be one. You know, so we are training the eyes for that, because we're going to run into that, like I said before, recently in our research. And as we showed our family before, you know, to reiterate, using the hammer repetition, you know, and this is just addressing some of the questions we had in our last class. We did touch on some of this, but I say, well, let me take the time, you know, to go back into this right here, so that we surely have this thing in stone. So if we were to look at this, we already know this is the anaglyph. We know that this, you know, is pretty much consistent of, you know, the expression of what is under this Unicode. And the more, like I say, we do this, the more familiar we're going to become. That is key. Sometimes we may say, man, why we got to go back over? Because if we say we got it, and then when it comes time to demonstrate it, we might have a little stumble a little bit. That means that we got to go back and do a little more research. You know, so it's just having the patience to go into this. Like I say, you just simply tap in to what's being stated here. We're using the molar tool, you know, and we'll go to our other tool in a second as well. Like we say, we're looking at these various changes, you know, and so the more that we do this and look at these various changes here, just look at them or analyze them, you know, observe. And by the time you really look at this here and you see this, when you see it again, you're going to recognize it for what it is. We know that this is really the main root, even though they add the W and the J on the outside, you know, and that don't take us nowhere but back to where it is when I click it. So then we can also say, all right, well, that's 391 U28 U29. Okay. It is again, same thing here. This is just dealing with a different dynasty. See, Dynasty 18, this was Dynasty 5 here. This is your oldest here. So Dynasty 18, same thing. You don't see a whole lot of change. You just see a little elongation here. But a lot of this stuff is similar to what's already up here, with an exception of a few little things that they demonstrated. And so this is where it ends at. Same thing. Everything is consistent here. Still expressed alone. Let me do this here real quick. And so same thing down here. And this is Dynasty 25, which is very close to the ending of the Kemetic rule. A few dynasties away, but you can definitely see it. So Jah, we already know that Jah is evident by the line here. It's not Da, it's Jah. You see? So anytime you see this in the hieratic, you know this is Jah. You see? Now, before we move on, we want to open up the floor to our scribes, you know, because like I said, this is an open discussion. You know, anytime you have questions or anything, you can come in, but we are requesting that our family come forth, you know, so that we can see where we are along the way. Islam?
Islam,
Grand National Secretary of State.
Islam, having already risen, giving praise and honor where due. Just much gratitude to you, Dr. Shahi, for bringing Slay out front again and just reading over it, because of the fact that when you go into it and we can compare the dynasties, that's really helpful. And also, as you had instructed us before, just keep reviewing it, you know, and then we'll be able to start put into remembrance the various symbols and Unicodes and things of that nature. And it'll be easier for us when we go to get back into the papyri. So gratitude more. This is definitely a benefit. Peace and love.
Islam, gratitude. That's right, Grand National Secretary of State, because whether we know it or not, what they consider determinants of what we call, you know, the anaglyphical indicators. You're going to run across also those that would be considered the alphabet in this process, you know, as well. So that keeps you abreast even when it comes to dealing with the alphabets in general. But here's giving you a broader scope, and Slay putting it in the order it does allows us to use the tools and go and do the research and look at these things, like you said, and ingrain them in the memory. So Islam, okay.
Islam,
Sister Curta Bay.
Islam, honors has already been given. And like the goddess said, yes, gratitude, God, man, for going over this again, because I did look at slate, like you said, and I just looked at the strokes and the different symbols and I'm taking time and just looking at it. And even in this, when you did the database, if you look over there in that last little old corner there, you see that. Now I didn't seen that little symbol before, but I'm understanding now how. But that's I can't tell what dynasty that is, but yeah, Berlin, what they say, Berlin something. But that little symbol there, we didn't saw that before. And then the one in 1, 2, 3 in that fourth little column. See, all these look familiar, but see, these are different. Yeah, right there. See, but these are different dynasties. And for me to understand, you know, it changed from the beginning, and we see how it's changing over time. And like I say, when you go back to that last little block column over there, you know, it kind of favors that little what do we call it? It ain't
The why?
yeah,
the
yeah.
huh?
It kind of looked like that. But see
Mhm.
that is a different dynasty. So like I say, gratitude. This is helping me. So gratitude for going over it again. I never get bored and you going over and over because this what ingrains it into my mind. And like I'm learning, I can hear you saying things, but until that thing click, it's got to click in me. Once it click, you know, we will be able to recognize all that you're saying. We will be able. I'm putting it in the ethers. I know we will. We go. Our vibration is going to rise up to the place where we can just be able to pick out these things. We just got to be patient and keep doing. Put the time in and keep doing what we're doing. And we gonna get we will get there. We will. And gratitude again for going over this because this helps me. This helps me. Islam.
Islamism. And another thing to be noted here, remember these are showing this is one dynasty here. And within this dynasty, these are the strokes that were found in this dynasty. We
Oh,
want to make
okay.
that plain too.
Okay.
Now, this
Okay.
is the change in the
Oh,
dynasty. You
yes.
see, down
Mm-hmm.
here, see, this is dynasty 18,
18.
and
Okay.
this is
Okay.
dynasty 5 up here. So this
Oh.
is dynasty 25.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? But
Uh-huh.
these are the strokes that manifest in the documents that they have found in this particular dynasty. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Okay.
So,
Gratitude.
and also when you see this right here, you
Uh-huh.
know, in like these different letters,
Yeah.
as you can see, this right here look way different than the other letter. And I would say this right here would be a more greater and accurate expression. This is just my thought because if we demonstrate a letter, we don't want to demonstrate it to where it end up looking like something else to where it confused.
Right.
So if we was to write with it and use this style, then this would be the best one to use. That way one wouldn't get confused with
Confused.
the
Mm-hmm.
why, you know,
Okay.
or just keep it simple like this.
Yeah.
There's no
Okay.
rules saying you have to add that. That's just the style of the writer
Uh-huh.
writing, you know, with that particular measure. But when you see it, you will be able to recognize it. That's the
Right.
main key. Because you
Right.
don't see that. And so when you see it, you know what it is. You
Islam.
know, so Islamism. So now, being that we have this knowledge, what we would do, just give it a chance to load up here. Okay. You simply, because we know that we got a greater measure here. See, we got U28 and U29. So when we come over here, come on now, don't you do that. Look like what it did, it just closed it out. But what I'm gonna do this here. I can open it right back up. There we go. Okay, so we seen U28, U29. Now we're gonna have a more extensive piece of information when we go into this. I probably already got this open, or maybe not. Okay, there it go. So again, we see here they tell you that this particular measure represents an agriculture, crafts. They say drill, but when you go into it deeper, you know, they give you a little more information about it and they call it a fire drill, right? This is their expression of it. Look more like a flame to me in general, you know, unless they're trying to speak of a welding tool or whatever you want to call it. But nevertheless, see here, even in the other one, we had just the 5th dynasty, but here in Aku, it goes back to actually the 4th dynasty. You see? That's a
Islam.
dynasty further back. But
Mm-hmm.
here we can see they gave us one of them. They telling you where it come from, and it also has pay attention to the numbers there. See,
Okay.
this is how you're able to source these actual alphabets.
Okay.
So that's 11301. If you was looking for that, you know, in the Berlin Egyptian Museum papyrus collection, they letting you know what it is.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? You know where it's located. Nobody can say, "Oh, this stuff you just made up." No, that's where it's located at right there.
Right. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So now when we go further, and that's just one of the fifth dynasty sign, which we see more in the multitude itself.
Right.
What's wrong with that? They are emphasizing this particular one.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have in the sixth dynasty, we seen this, you got the old kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
then they got the first intermediate period, ninth and 10th dynasties. Then they're telling you the pharaoh that actually ruled during this time.
Okay.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
Neri-I, Heracleopolis, right?
Uh-huh.
Place and everything. Middle Kingdom, 11th dynasty. After the unification, Middle Kingdom, 12th dynasty. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So if you are reading in a particular papyri and it's from a particular dynasty, you can expect what to see, so to speak, the style
wow.
by whatever you read. So that's another thing. If you find something hieratic that's from a particular dynasty, you can go to this tool and it'll probably be helpful to say, okay, since this is the style, when you see this in that particular papyri that you're reading in, then you recognize what it is. So you can accurately point it out if you come across a 12th dynasty papyri or, 4th dynasty, whatever dynasty it is, based upon that, that's where you will go in this listing. You see what I'm saying?
That's powerful right there. Yes.
And so that's just the way I would say it. If it's giving it like this and we seeing this, that's the best way to do it.
Right.
If you see it listed in there, why not? We can go all the way down through here to every dynasty. See the changes and the way it is. That way you won't have to guess, so to speak, at what's going on. If you're in that papyri and you know the dynasty of the papyri that you're in.
Right.
I think that would help us narrow certain things down as well. So
Islam. And I was just asking that question about how do we use the Aku tool in doing what we were doing, and here you is talking about it and showing us. And so I see where you took the Unicode and you put it in and brought all this up. Okay. See, and these were the questions that I had just last night, Friday and Saturday. I was like, how do we use that kudo? How will we use that in doing all this stuff? Okay, I got it. Islam, gratitude.
Okay. And like I said, you can just go on down the line and see, and then some of it may go all the way up to the 25th, 28th, 27th dynasty. But this one stops at the 20th dynasty. You know what I mean? So you see here everything. So this is very powerful, family. It's giving you the ruler of the dynasty, and everything else. So we can even probably even as we go along and get better with this, we can actually maybe even call it, the Sesastric script, or the, just by whatever ruler was there, and that would give us this is the 12th dynastic script, of the heratograms, just to identify, for conversation when it's time to give instruction and be precise with it. If we master this, well, we will be able to demonstrate in that way. You know what I mean?
Islam.
A lot of this is coming to me as I'm drawing right now as well. And that's why we draw from on high. Wisdom speak from out of the highest plane of spirit life.
Islam.
And you actually receive the teaching while you demonstrate the teaching.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
Islam.
Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. All right. Well, either one of our brothers would like to come forth and demonstrate their measure. Islam, brother Bati Bey.
Islam. And what this reminds me, and I see why the that other Asiatic brothers are studying this, because this is a testament to their calligraphy and the stroke patterns that they use. And the stroke patterns in the writings tell a story on all by itself. And so when they're looking at that they did this with the with that slave document. At first, it was hard for me to comprehend what it was trying to say, but then when we started going over it more, it kind of clarified everything. And then that revelation about the calligraphy, why they studying this, and we got this Aku document, kind of all panning out, and it makes it that much more useful when we starting to see the the meat and potatoes of this. So with that, I'll leave us a come piece. Islam.
Islam and peace, gratitude, brother. Gratitude. Islamism without the schism. Well, all right. What about you, brother Marvin Epps Bay?
Islam, yeah, it's a powerful demonstration. Very helpful. Looking forward to becoming more immersed into study. Gratitude for all you do. Islam.
Okay, Islam. All right. So yeah, we just have to go on our own time and go a little further with putting in the work and making sure that we put our all into it. Like the Grand National Secretary of the State say, we don't want to reap in a scanty way. Because if we do that, we'll never be able to dig beneath the surface and get the essence of what we're trying to bring forth. So that brings us here. And we don't even have to be looking for a definition here. We can do that, but we don't really have to. If you simply came here and just said, okay, U28, we already know this is going to bring us U28 all over the place. But that's what we intend. But we can get to the fullness of it because we'll do that in a second. We see U28 here at the root of this word. We see it's surrounded by D36, G21, and Z7, A24. But Jah is here. And it's good that we look at this here, because if we didn't know no better, we would think, that this was a Tao. And it's actually a Jah. You see? A Jah. Right? Now look at this. This is something to really be considerate of as well. Down here, notice they putting DA instead of DJ, a Jah, and Jah. You see? A Jah. And they telling you what the definition of that they giving, right? Now there's something important to look at here. Pay close attention to this. Now notice when you look at what's being demonstrated here, all the way in every statement that's being made here, there's something at the end of each one of these statements. See what I'm talking about? So this would be really 3 letters, so to speak. This would be like 2 letters, so to speak. Even though you see the DA, we know that's Jah. That's Jah is 1 sound. So that's a Jah, right? If this is the case, right? They go your Jah, right? And then when you look at what's following behind it, this is where your indicator comes into play. You see? And so that's the key. This is where your indicator come into play. And so the indicator is not necessarily the word that's being expressed. The indicator is indicating what's being expressed. You see? So we just have to be able to identify this is special measure here, which this is special measure. We are talking about A1, for example, right? And hold up, let me go into it real quick. want to make sure this is that moment. Okay. Let's see. See, now, like I said, this is your A1. That's here, right? Same drawing, that's from Dynasty 13. But now look, just by going there, even looking into the dictionary and looking at these indicators, you know, you can find your heratogram, your anaglyphic heratograms, you know, and do the same thing. Go through here. You see that's 33. That's 33B right there. But that's okay. You just look at those signs, look at them, because they all indicate the same thing. But this is proof of what I was telling y'all too. Even though it has become a common custom to put this sign beside these heratograms, this is primary evidence on the fact of what I've been demonstrating, which we already know because our brothers said it also, the Asiatic brothers. You know good and well that this don't look nothing like these here, family. Do my scribes agree with me on that? If you were just looking at this alone, it would be hard to recognize it as being this right here, wouldn't it?
I don't even see it as that.
You can't even see it as that. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
So that's why we know these are indicators, but the thing is about it, we take it with a grain of salt. And unfortunately, in order to get back here for our transliteration, we know how that we have to do this. We accept this and then we throw away the peanut shell. You see what I'm saying? Because once we begin to identify with this as it is, we ain't gonna need to use this as a reference anyway. So this is nothing more than a reference for us. Islam. That's all it is, because we know good and well they better stop that. How in the world you gonna let me see? I don't see no man. I'm sorry.
I don't either.
This just goes to show you, you know, goodness gracious. And then this man right here different than that one up there. What happened to him?
Yeah.
It's a ghost. You know, see, this type of stuff can throw people off.
Islam.
You know what I mean? What in the world? Oh, I guess this right here. This is spirit man or something. Nothing wrong with it. But see, automatically, now I done just throw the metaphysical measure right off in there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So this has its place, but its place is not being confused with this. Unfortunately, we are using these measures to identify what we identified. You know, again, as indicators. You know, and then they go to adding stuff up in there. Let's do this. Let's compare this to this. Can you see this and this as being the same? No, not even this and this. How you gonna say that's a lady right there?
Right.
And that's the man.
Right.
You see, and then you go, so that's why we already know they originated these things and they created them. And the idea was basically, oh, look at what we see on the pyramids. So we see the hieratic. So let's go look at the hieratic letters and see how many we can match up with these pictures, y'all. And then when we do that, we're going to create a transcription. We're going to hide this right here because we don't want nobody to know what we did. That's
wow.
That's basically what happened, Morris Kid. Our Asiatic brother exposed it. I was saying it all the while, but they brought it out. Yeah, brother Shaheed, you right. Gardenia had the hieratic all the while, and they said it in the slave documents a few minutes ago. He discarded it. He throwed all this away because he had done created what he wanted to create out of this. And that's why everybody's so confused. So there are possibility of certain sounds that are not where they should be based upon them doing things this way. But the thing is, we know that there were Coptic, Egyptians and priests that really did these things. And that's why we can have faith in somewhat dealing with the accuracy, and also where we are able to vet these words by a system of vetting, like when we pull up the strong word process, because we can see, okay, well, there is a word here and a word there. So yeah, we can really get some drawings and say, okay, some of this stuff is pretty accurate. Some of it you got to take with a grain of salt, but nevertheless, the way that we are demonstrating now, by the time we begin to utilize these things as they are, it ain't gonna matter what they talking about anyway, because we are demonstrating with these symbols as we will through our own Moorish paradigm. And bet nobody say nothing, because y'all let Rome get up here and do the jigaboo with this particular alphabet, and so they got carried away. Look at him. Now see, we already see they trying to say this is this right here. It still don't look nothing like it. But right here, good and well. Oh my goodness. Please, somebody stop her. Look. And so, yeah, that's just something else, family. That's something else. It's terrible. But nevertheless, we see it here. They don't even have, anything there. And they did the right thing. That's how they should have did all of it. Because y'all know good and well. And unfortunately, this is being put up here as the oldest. Or is it? So, once we go back, like I said here, and we're able to recognize that, hieratic is supposed to be in these places. This is the so-called determinative they're using. And they saying that this represents the guilty man or wrongdoer. And they saying this is the indication of that. So let's try to figure out, why would this be is this supposed to be somebody standing down on their knees pleading, with their hand up, please don't hit me, because somebody said they were guilty? Is that what they're trying to imply right here, Moorish Ken? So I mean, this just goes to show you the mind of the European. Now, me, I look at this as more of a praying posture, not praying, but like a yogic posture is what I'm saying. I look at this like a yogic sun's salutation pose. Can y'all agree with that, Moorish Ken? Or do y'all see somebody over here that's pleading for their life?
The crazy thing is
please don't kill me. Goodness gracious. So wait a minute. Y'all got to give me some insight on this right here, Moorish Ken.
That looks like a yoga pose, because the way the leg is back like that.
Mhm.
Right.
If you ever try that pose, watch the stretch you feel doing that right there. But it does look like almost like the Josla position in the is it the Josla position in our international prayer? The one where they're on their knees.
Yeah, well, I tell you, our brother, I think it was York, he had tried to put some stuff together. He was showing poses, and he took from a lot of these, and yeah, that would be the comedic form of when you go down, into sajda, is what they call it. You know what I mean? And then go ahead.
I was gonna say Dr. Ashby, he got a lot of different ones doing the different poses, yogic poses.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Trying to find the let me see. Let's see. We're gonna go right here first. Watch this. And then I'm gonna go into the yogic poses too, just to show you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so let's go into the images. And It's one where you sit in the end and you start dickering, so to speak, for the remembrance of Allah. I just want to get a clear one, couple of them up here. I think this one right here may show it. No, that ain't the one. Trying to find the one showing all postures. This is the one I'm looking for right here. Oh, it won't let me stretch it out. This is the one I'm talking about, where the one is sitting on the little rug right there. Let me get some real humans up here. See if they put it up here. Here it go right here. Better yet, that's even a better one right there. Why they didn't let me go all the way in it? Let's see.
They don't want it to get out.
Yeah, I'm clicking on the picture. Normally they take it, and this one did though. So it's still showing it half.
Yeah.
They ain't showing I want them to show the full expression of the body. So y'all can see exactly what I'm talking about. They done took you straight into Saudi Arabia over here. And I don't never use this as a search engine, by the way. Here it go right here though. But they have, most of the time one has a hand out. Sometimes they have a hand up while they demonstrating it. But see how the one has their one knee down and then another one here?
Right.
On the side, they have it, the feet. That's how one demonstrated that right there. Let me see right here. Now in meditation. I'm going to try to go to, let me go to my, I'm going to go through this search engine. I don't like to deal with Microsoft with their foolishness. I always use Chrome. So let's see. Actually, I should have put position. They got a many of them. It's so many of them. Depending on what type of form you're dealing with. You know what? To be more precise, I can even do it like this here. Let's just say this. Let's see what happens. Okay. So we see a few here, and this varies too based upon who is creating the postures, because it deal with all types of people. They demonstrating in different. Let me see here. Okay, we see these right here. This is one similar. This is the closest one I'm seeing so far, but they looking the other way. But even though all of this stuff has came from the same source is what I'm getting at. Let's see what this one said. Like this brother here, for example, we see he definitely trying to imitate the Kemetic poses.
Islam.
That's actually the head.
You're not showing it, right?
Yeah, I am, and it's saying I'm sharing too right now.
Well, no, you have
let me reshare it again.
Yeah.
Let me reshare it again, because I just closed it out and it's still saying I'm sharing. Let me stop sharing again. Said I was sharing 2 times and it wasn't showing that. Well, we're gonna do this again. Okay, so here we go right here. That's not what I'm looking for. They done went into. Okay, here we go up here. There we go. All right.
That's good. Yeah.
So for example, you see this brother, I already know what this is. He demonstrating the head pose, right? This is basically represent time, and so forth and so on. Millions of years and so forth and so on. I see a brother here demonstrating the same pose, right? So it varies based upon, you know, whoever demonstrating. That's look like a sister demonstrating a pose. What in the world? Okay, let me see here. Everybody doing all types of yoga poses they done pulled from the walls of Kemet, certain expressions. Like here's one right here. And I see the ones Muata Ashby have right there too in the Egyptian yoga book. See what I'm saying? Some of these same things though later became known as mudras and was misused by those who claim to be Masons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they created their own little demonstration of Masonic expressions. So you can see how people really out here trying to practice it. You know, she demonstrating the heck pose too. There it is. That's dealing with creation and time. We see a goddess out here demonstrating the pose this way, but all of these things can be found in the determinatives too. You know, like I say, the anaglyphic indicators. You know, that's the thing. Right here, for example. All of these things can be found, you know, when we deal with the anaglyphics. These are all different examples of the poses that are being demonstrated. And like I said, it varies based upon whoever system they're going through, because a lot of people have come up with these different poses based off of, you know, where they are along the way. Let's see. Comedic yoga. I think this sister looked like she went through a couple of different poses. You know, so I mean, y'all get it for the most part of it, because we can go all day looking for these demonstrations. My main thing is just going through here. Islam, Brother Marvin Edwards Bay.
Yes, sir. I just noticed. I believe that's that shoe that's underneath. Is it nut?
Say that again, brother.
You know, shoe.
Yes, sir.
That be laying back under, right there. Like,
yeah.
Underneath that nut.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. That's shoe. Sometime car uplifting and so forth.
One that's on the ground?
Yeah, that's nut. Huh?
The one that's on the ground.
Yeah, like shoe and nut.
Okay. Well, I see 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the main thing we're looking for the expressions that's similar to the drawing that we had a few minutes ago.
Okay.
Like I said, most of them are demonstrating this particular pose here in this posture. And we see why, because it was actually demonstrated by Ma'at, it was demonstrated by Het, so I see why these are dominant poses. But what I'm saying is that we definitely know that this is not, let me pull it back up again here. We definitely know that this is not, what is that? Okay, I see what's going on. Yeah, we know that this is not this measure where they talking about, somebody basically representing a wrongdoer, a guilty man, and so they're trying to tell you that this is somebody pleading their cause is what they're saying. And they saying this word that's being used here, Aja, is basically a guilty man, pleading, I'm sorry. Please don't kill me. And I'm saying that this is more looking like a meditation pose, of sun salutation. That's just the way we see it, because we're looking at it from a high level of vibration, not a lowly level of vibration. Like in this particular word, this would be the indicator. You would think, oh, this and this is the same. No, sir. They may be grouped If you go into the sign list in the same category, but they are not the same. You know, these two here, they represent two expressions. So now when we go into this, let's see what happens. That would be D40. So we go back over here to D40, right? We're not so focused on the signs. Islam, Grand National Secretary of State.
Islam, and you know what? And Justin, because you're looking at it from a universal level and dealing with the sun salutations and the yogic poses, even though they call that other symbol that looks to me like a little flame, even though they called it fire drill, you know, one of those poses was dealing with the hand, which we know hand is symbolic of the mind.
Yeah.
So I was also looking at it from the aspect of just basically giving praise or in gratitude to the creator, you know, and what Ra, you know, where they get the word sun from and things of that nature. I'm seeing the connection there as opposed to, and we know that Rome specific intent and agenda was to bury the thing. So of course, I always look at if they say something is red, then you know it's going to be green. You know, you deal with the opposites of what they putting out to try to put the people asleep. So that's another aspect of how I was looking at it as well. Islam.
Oh, that's powerful. Because now what you made me see as well is when they talk about the wrongdoer, if we want to look at it like that right there, then somebody got to be in their lower self to be able to see it like that. But in the higher self, like you say, you paying salutation to the God.
Right.
You know?
Or you the creator within yourself, you know.
That's right. That creator within you. Like the brother say, praise be to Allah and man. Yeah, that's powerful. And so this is the actual sign, you know, that we just pulled up. And as you can see, this is D40. And this would be the indicator of that other word that was above Ajah, right? Now notice this is Dynasty 12. You already know they're going to do their thing when it comes to this. But we looking at all the different changes in it. Of course, you got to pay attention to them details, you know, because some of these details that would look similar to other things, because I could say, okay, man, this look like the letter F right here if I didn't know no better, you know what I mean? But I look at a detail on it and say, well, the F don't have that little piece there on it, so that ain't F. But nevertheless, I'm looking at all of this right here. But when I look at this actual symbol here, and I go back to the dictionary, I ain't really got to go back to the Aku just yet, because I want to emphasize this here, how we point out these things. So this again represents, you know, what they would call the indicator or the determinative, you know, the anaglyphic anaglyphic indicator. But right here, this would be what they would call letters of the word. We know this hieratically represents different representations when it comes to the hieratograms. So it would be these three, and this would be the actual measure that is the indicator. So D40 being the indicator again, they saying it represents guilt. So now to look at this and then just define, you know, this symbol in that same area in the reference of being an indication of somebody being guilty, you know, so let me go back over here and look at this again with more clarity. What is that? Just looking at it now. So what we would do, all right, we already got the Unicode. Let's see exactly what is this that's supposed to have to do with something being guilty. Again, so that's D40. Make sure that this right here pull up. Yep, there it go. It gave it to us. The part of the human body, the arm, right? So, well, what an arm with a stick. So, oh, now this is supposed to be the other side. That one that's on the ground saying, please don't kill me. So this is the one that's putting in the work right here. What they got going on? So why are they putting this warfare That's supposed to be expressing language in here. Everything they dealing with is strictly on the manifest with Rome.
Mm.
This got to be somebody's hand. I'm finna hit you. I'll do it. That's basically what they saying now. That's what they trying to say here. Now we
Mhm.
know better than this. Rome got to stop this, and that's why it's necessary for us to retransliterate and translate this stuff.
Yeah.
This is the other side of what we don't see as to why that one is down there in that position saying, please don't kill me.
Mhm. They got a wall-like nature, Dr. Shaheed. That's why they.
Goodness gracious, an arm with a stick. What else you gonna do with a stick? We know what Moses was doing with that staff. He wasn't just splitting the Red Sea. Goodness gracious. So, man, this is insane when you begin to look at what they have done and tried to place these things on a simplistic level. When you do the research, and if I'm looking at this from a highest expression, let's go into the Moorish Holy Quran. What do we talk about? We talk about ensigns that have been given. We talk about the one of power. You see what I'm saying? See, I can see a higher measure. Goodness gracious. What y'all got to say about that, Scribe? Because this is crazy right here.
Islam. You looking at the essence.
Stuff.
Islam. Yeah, Islam, and just like what I read in the chapter, you looking at the essence of that thing. When we named the animal and stuff, we didn't have to go back and because we looked at the essence of that, and that's what you're doing. Even with this picture, even with them, with their warlike nature, that's why they want to beat up people, and have sticks and things in their hands and stuff like that. But you looking at the essence of it. They couldn't do that.
That's right.
Islam.
Yeah, that's the one of truth, if you ask me. That we talk about in our Moorish Holy Quran. That's definitely one of truth. And that other measure represents sun salutation, looking at the divine and the self. Right. Is what we mean. We're talking about the Ra above the neck.
Mm-hmm.
So we can see that, but looking at it from the aspect of what they saying, look like we uncovering the murder of Hiram Abiff over here.
There you go.
God, goodness gracious.
And in addition to the one, how come it couldn't be a reed or some tool used to build? A reed belonging to a scribe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they could have. There you go. Somebody giving somebody something.
Right.
Why can't it be that? So like, yeah, and that's exactly why. And this is what we actually redefine and what we're looking at while we just speaking on it. This is what we actually have to do. Go through here and redefine these things based upon our Moorish science. That's what this is prompting in the consciousness right now as we speak.
You know what that tool looks like?
Islam. Go ahead, Grand Man.
I don't know if you ever seen bricklayers, and they got this tool that puts the kind of like this convex in between the bricks after they put the mud on it, and they rub it between the bricks so it kind of gives it a kind of like a convex in between the where the mortar and the other two bricks meet.
Talking about the trowel?
It's not the trowel, but it's almost like a spoon that's kind of curled up on the handle part of the spoon, and they wipe the extra concrete off. I can't think of the name of the tool, but then I was also looking at why is that one part of the arm, what they have as an arm, white, and then the other part black.
They probably trying to say they had some a white garb on, most likely. Yeah. But they call them parts of the human body. But yeah, we definitely see the measure. And like I say, looking at it on a high level of vibration, knowing that these were called the writings of the gods. We'll most definitely have to look at it from that especially perspective of the gods, the great God Allah. And
the arm,
he has no need for the manifest like they was trying to demonstrate. You feel me? So what would be the highest expression? We talk about the arm of Allah not being weakened. You know, like I said, we can definitely see that one, the truth, and like the Grand Secretary of the State, one giving, something to one. You know, we can see all of that as opposed to this stuff they talking about. You know, like I said, we see one side where one is down there, and let's see what we get out here. Cause see, I don't know, maybe this right here, it looking like it was done on purpose. We know it was done on purpose. Now this is another expression right here. We already see what this one got in the hand. So let's see. He got the big stick. The little one wasn't good enough. Here it is again. Somebody guilty. So they actually showing you that these determinants are supposed to be the consequences for your action. That's what they're trying to tell you, right? They ain't saying that verbally, but that's what they trying to say. Let's see, A24. Let's see, can we find it here? We want to always vet it through all our tools. Well, since they pulled me over here too, family, also know that when you go into these areas here too, these actually lead you into all of these symbols as well, but they take you through the different areas where they are located at as well by the Unicode. So feel free, for example, there we go right there, one we were just looking at. They calling it a fire drill again. They don't have images available. So what they normally do is put the images they find on the monuments beside it. That's basically what it does. You know, so all you can go up here and look for the same thing. Let's see. Like this is the one we looking for now, for example. Yep, that's it. A24. And see, they showing this right here to you. But see, that right there ain't showing what they showing there. See, that's what I'm talking about. It look like somebody doing some type of work right here.
Islam, yeah. Can you blow that up a little bit? Will it blow up?
Yeah, them two different different expressions there, family. Sure. This is holding one up. This is dealing with something in the right. See, that's why I'm saying we gotta vet this stuff. And they doing the same thing. They making them same mistakes with the signs and the symbols. Like, look at here. This is palms outstretched with the long lock. They only had that alone. They telling you where they got it from. Let's see the other one they had up here. Like they were saying, this right here represent death, and on one of the things I seen. That's another man here with a stick hitting himself in the head. Y'all, like, goodness, y'all know good well ain't no comedic people out there hitting themselves in the head with no stick now. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why we got a lot of work to do, family. Look at this. They saying they got the stick in him. What are they gonna put the stick on their head for like that?
It looks like they raising it up to, to prepare the ground.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Because that's what they're looking at.
Yeah.
So what they got this one hitting himself in the head for? I'm just saying. Now, notice that's what they say. They say he's striking with the stick. But we don't see nobody there to be struck. Wait a minute. Is that the brother that's on the ground talking about, please don't hit me? Because he done got beat up a few times. If that's the case. They just doing him a lot of damage. Come on, man.
Yeah. If that's the case, where's the man with all the knots on his head? Where's that?
So I'm really like, everything Rome see, it got to be somebody beating somebody. Why Rome? Why? Y'all need them. Prophet Noble Drew Ali says is gonna take the Moorish American to heal them. If they don't do it on the love, true peace, freedom, and justice, he say what's gonna happen to them? Yeah. Now here goes somebody. I know they say this somebody like to hide right here. He hide behind a wall. So is that because he seen what they done did to everybody else? You know what I mean? How do you say this is hide behind the wall, fam? Who he hiding from?
Right.
Kemet was the land of the gods. You can't hide from the gods if you want to, but you ain't got to hide from the god because they demonstrate my art. You know,
He
this
gonna
look
get
like
hit.
they're trying to be funny. You know, what they talking about, a slave hiding, you know, in a cavern somewhere. That's how they thinking. That's how Rome think.
Yeah.
So that's
And
why I
notice
say
the angle is 90 degrees, okay?
you see
Right.
that there, right?
Yes.
You hide behind 90 degrees of knowledge.
Nah.
Like he's measuring for, you know,
Thank you.
astrological functions.
Yeah, most definitely. That's
Yeah.
what it more look like. This one is like you say, analyzing something for a building process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, looking at the dimensions of it, like the
Right.
Grand Secretary of the State was saying. But hiding, why? You know, what is the purpose? What you hiding from? You know, but this just goes to show. Now think about it. You got to look at it like this. This is what our people have to see right now at this instance. Those who think that the European right about everything they say. Now notice they say ain't no occurrences for this sign, right? I done seen them, you know, in writing on stone and all of that right there. So this person ain't found it. But the main thing is, if we looking at this and they say this is a man hiding behind the wall, right? This is what Rome said. What did the ancestors say though? You see what I'm saying? And that's the thing our people have a barrier in. Because Rome say he was hiding behind the wall. Oh, this gonna be forever a man hiding behind the wall to those who think they know hieroglyphics. You see what I'm saying? And we question, oh, you pseudo. You know, no, we giving the proper definition to it, and y'all too lazy. And that's why y'all got these people putting this stuff out here like this. So let's go over here.
And that's just like misnomers, because when you put a label on something, okay, that's bringing forth limitation of thought, so that you're not even going to go within as far as the universal order of things to demonstrate what is the metaphysical meaning, because Rome said it's a man hiding behind a wall. So you stop there. That's a means of limiting and cutting off your degree as well.
Yep. That's exactly what's going on. And that's what we talk about. You know, this is terrible. So if we were to go and search some more of this U28, let me see if it go beyond these three. Yep, it bring us over here. We already know what it is. So we see the Jah there again. You know, this is talking about held, uninjured, and prosperous. You know, and so they're using the scroll. We already know that's the scroll right there. But they're using this scroll, you know, as dealing with Haley, uninjured, and being prosperous. You know, let's go and look at the scroll. Let's go and look at it. That's Y and 1. Okay, Y and 1. Come on, where you at now? They done close my little tool up again. Yeah, let me go here. Hold it back up. Okay. Okay, so Y1. Yeah, see it right there? Papyrus scroll. Okay, so we see the sign for the papyrus in the scroll. No big deal here and there, but notice also they talking about, well, this is a writing utensil. Also, it's playground equipment and music. So I guess they trying to tell you, well, they write music on this. You know, they write a whole bunch of stuff on papyrus. You know, what they getting at with the playground equipment, that kind of off a little bit. I don't know what they talking about that can be dealing with some playground equipment from that standpoint. So looking at this, in and of itself, it is what it is. You can't make nothing out of it no more than what it is, other than the fact of what you're going to write on the scroll. You know what I mean? So ain't no big deal there. We can say, all right, we can even see the tie on it, you know, where it's wrapped up. So all is well. You got that one right there, Rome. We cool with that. You know what I mean? But what is the essence of the scroll?
Dr.
You know, when
Shaheed,
you talk about dealing with being prosperous. Go ahead, Sister Curtis Bay.
and when you say playground equipment, did our ancestors use that kind of language?
No, that's what I'm trying to tell you. They didn't use none of this language here.
Yeah,
But that's again what I'm saying. Rome is coming up with these things, and people are
yes,
saying this. But if our people back then heard somebody say that, they'd be like, "What in the world are you talking about?"
right,
Rome
right.
would be arguing with them. No, I said it's this playground equipment, and scroll. And even though we looking at it, we can see the scroll expression there. That still may not be exactly what they were speaking of.
Right, right.
Looking at it from a high level, but we can see the scroll aspect there because what gives us credence to that is that I seen Tehuti hold it in his hand
Okay, okay.
when he was right.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll show you what I'm talking about. Y'all seen it too. Let's see. Look more like how the scrolls that you give to the students after they finish in their courses, like we do with the degrees of self-mastery.
Oh, okay, okay.
Right.
It's a couple of expressions like that, and that's why I can go with the scroll expression. They got a couple of them. Here go one right here. This is what he was actually. Let's see. This is a similar measure here where he's writing on something here, but it's another one that I see often. Not that particular. Tahuti always got one in his hand. Yeah, see. And actually those look like trying to find the one where he had the actual scroll. These look more like the ink, where he pulling the ink out of them and he writing with it. That's his like an ink holder. But this one where he actually have the scroll in his hand.
And you know what? According to Rome, they would have said that's the man with the stick.
There you go. See what I'm saying? They would have said it. There you go. And that's exactly what we talking about, family. Normally, if I wasn't looking for this, you can find it all over the place. Where he actually has the scroll in his hand. Let's see here. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's the one I think. It's this one here. The actual real picture of it. Where he actually has the scroll in his hand. You see? That's the one I'm talking about. Right there. But it's another one too. They show them, they all over the place based on where you go. So that's where I can go and say, okay, we know the scrolls were demonstrated, in a similar way. They even evolved into things like this, with the Israelites using the holders. It could have actually been that just like they have these metal casings for the scroll holders, he could have actually had the ink. I could say that too. That could actually be the ink. When we go back here, let me pull the one up I was using earlier. He could have actually had an ink deposit in his scroll case. You see what I'm saying? Right here. Here's another one right here too, a bigger one. What in the world? There it go right there again. Like I said, there could have been an ink, deposit in his scroll case. I can look at it that way, but nevertheless, we can see the shape of the scroll when we look at the symbol, But playground, I don't know what they're going to be playing with out there. What that's going to have to do with a playground. I'm just sorry. I don't really see that. I don't see this unless they're trying to talk about some monkey balls. I don't know what Rome got going on. But so we'll go with the aspect of the scroll and the papyri. And then going back over here to the actual definition that was given, looking at what's being said, if this deals with being prosperous, so to speak, then we can see that, one becomes successful, in their completion of a particular feat, so to speak. When you can come out uninjured or so-called and, unharmed, you have become victorious. And then they say, all right, here's your scroll of sincerity. Here's your scroll of justice. And, so this would represent a prosperous expression to me if I would have put my Moorish science on it. So they have a couple of more of them here with the Y1 in the scroll. And this one actually talking about remain, overbalance, and calculations. Overbalance, over of balance and calculations. And this look like they're talking about, when one has been over a particular balance, to remain over balance. I guess they're trying to say somebody in debt. I don't know, but that don't mix and mingle when you talking about being prosperous here.
How about if they're over of balance? Let's say a balance is maybe $20 and they're over that. So that's how they end up prosperous.
Well, yeah. I see what you're saying. You're saying more on the surplus side rather than the debt.
Right.
Gotcha. I can look at it that way right now. Over here that we so used to being in the negative balance. Yeah, look at that wrong. But that sounds about right. We can go with that, Grand National Secretary of State. Thank you for your more science. And so looking at it from that aspect, if we're looking at it, we can see the scroll then would be used as a ledger for the writing in, right? The keeping of the writings, if we're going to look at it from that particular level. So I can see the scroll as being an indicator, but the thing is, the common mind ain't going to think that hard. The common mind don't think like that, Moorish kin. They looking at the first thing smoking and that's it. That's too much thinking for some people. You know what I mean? And inquiring minds come from people like us. We look into that type of stuff. But most of the time, that's how they're able to get over, because our people don't like to read. You just put it in a book, put it in a scroll, huh? Islam. So, yeah, they got a couple of them up here. They got a couple of them up here that's giving the measures. So these are the examples, though, that we use in family on how easy it is to research these things and go right back to the hieroglyphs. And we can do this just with one, like how we dealing with U28. You can just keep going down the line. And in the process, you're actually learning, even more words as you are going along. So I think that is good to just go get the go into our slay tool like we did. We're dealing with U28 and just come all the way down through this, identifying it, looking at certain definitions of words, and continuing to move. One thing we can see, a lot of these words dealing with this particular expression, though, is dealing with a lot of prosperity. And Grand National Secretary of State, I can even see just in this word here, even though the scroll may not be here, I see storehouse, again, dealing with a stockpiling, so to speak, of something. So we can see prosperous, being healthy, abundance would be the good word to use.
Islam.
Islam, Grand National Secretary of State.
And also, I was looking up that word hale, Hale. Is speaking about of a person, especially an elderly one, strong and healthy. And it just brought me back to mind when the prophet was speaking about, as you stated, what health is to the body.
Yes,
praise
the
Lord.
Right. So that's we looking at health in abundance, wealth in abundance, so to speak. See, it's talking about flourishing affairs. So all of these words pretty much falling in that category. Even in just looking at, even though these words may not have a scroll in here, the root at this word is indicative of something that has to do with one making one be glad, to please one. Because if you have health in abundance, wealth in abundance, or whatever the case may be, if you have peace in abundance, love in abundance, truth in abundance, then you happy.
Yes,
you go back to the Adeptus questionnaire right here. When is man most happy? So you deal with contentment, being content. So may it please you. Same thing. These are good ways to even be able to communicate with our family too. We already know what Uncle Jet Sanel means. There it is. May he live and be prosperous and healthy. There it go. Here's another measure, safe and of sound persons. So yeah, we see this here. So anytime you see the term wajah, a jah, a wedge, a jah, you can basically bank on it that is dealing with, in most cases, something that's good for you, so to speak. That's what we're looking at here. In the long line of these words that are here, see the uninjured eye of Heru, or Horus. You always hear me talk about the Wajet. See it right here? They actually saying, they claiming it's supposed to be Wajet right here, written out. That's supposed to be the W. This supposed to be the J and the, the A, and so forth, Wajet. And then this would be the T, they would say, right? But this is the indicator. So we go and we reverse engineer this into the hieratic. You see, even though you see me go out there and say that's what they say it is by using the pictures, we just saying that to let our people know what's being said here. You see what I'm saying? But we already know the hieratic was there first. So the uninjured eye of Horus, which is Wajet. And matter of fact, I went into this last night. I can go right to it in my PowerPoint I had out here. Right here. And I always emphasize this right here on how Wajet is what gave birth to the word Wajh Allah in Arabic, which means face of Allah, which is the transcendent essence of everything, or the inner reality of each entity. Wherever you turn, there's the face or the reality of Allah. See, Quran 2:15. This is one where you hear the chairman say, face the place most nearest and dearest to you. This is where you face Allah. This is that Allah within us. So in Kemetic measure, in the raw transliteration, Wajet is the eye of Ra and Heru, but it represents the omnipresence of God and man. That's saying the same thing that this is saying, just in different words. The transcendent essence of everything, inner reality, that's God. The inner reality of every entity. Wherever you turn, that's the face and reality of Allah. So that's the omnipresence of God in man. So we're giving you two definitions, one from the Kemetic in the raw, and the other one from the derivative, Wajala, Waj. And so that Waj is rooted in this eye that he has in the hand. See, that's that, and notice he has it toward the heart. This is ayah. Remember, Allah is from this particular measure. And Ah is really a symbol of the arm. So Ah, and then you have La. So that's powerful in and of itself. Uninjured, the uninjured eye of Heru. So now when you say uninjured eye of Heru, that means that you ain't got no dirt in your heart. You see, that means that you can see clearly. That means that the divine light you can look at and peer into and not be blinded by it. You see, just like Heru, just like that hawk, a falcon, looking directly into the sun. So I mean, we can see all of that just by looking at the definition, but Rome ain't telling it to us like that. Islam, what y'all got to say about that, Scribe?
Definitely agree.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I concur.
so Islam,
Islam.
these are just showing the possibility. Islam, brother.
Islam. I ever since that, we had the Most Holy Quran, and then had the Exhument of a Nation, and then our our paradigm, our school of thought. There's no reason why we should even be considering the teachings, but as a starting point when it comes down to anybody outside of us.
That's right. That's right, brother. Islamism. That's right. And that's why we say, these are the skillful scribes in the nation, because we the ones that are able to bring this forth. Because anybody else jump up in here and they go to trying to do this, we can already see they're going to be burned up from the start. If you haven't took this class, you ain't really, that's why we say we have people who are qualified to teach the people. Because if somebody just come in just based on what they know, let's just say they mastered in their own mind the system of the way Rome taught them, that's going to be a problem when it comes to what it is that we know, because we already know how they done remixed it. We know how they done flipped it upside down. We know the lies that done been told, what they done tried to hide. And somebody come in here having faith in Rome in the way they interpreted this lesson, it ain't going to mix right. It's going to automatically be a clashing in their own mind, because they're going to be like, man, they're teaching against what Rome taught. I done mastered everything Rome said. I know what I'm talking about. This represent that, and that represent this. And y'all know, next thing they be running off with their marble somewhere. But nevertheless, this is some powerful stuff here, family. Just right now, peering into this to this extent. I mean, you can see the possibilities of everything, family. I mean, it don't get no plainer than that. So I just want to give honor to all of my Moorish kin. But this is the way that we, like I said, you can research. You can go many ways, but just start here. You see, we did a whole pretty much class on just one of them, with an extension of other measures that we went into. But just going into that alone and going over here to your dictionary and then just really observing, looking at your definition, all that's going to strengthen you when it comes to being able to see. Now, when you see, those symbols, that represent the scroll, and so forth and so on, or whatever you identify with, even if you think you have not stored it in your storehouse, it's there. And when you see it, trust me, you're going to see exactly what that is. You ain't going to look at this eye of Heru the same, because you know the deeper meaning, and it go deeper than what we explained. You ain't going to look at the scroll the same, so this is powerful. So that being said, what we're going to do, we're going to go to our Grand National Secretary of the State, and then we're going to go to our other Moorish kin and close this demonstration out. This is a powerful measure. We encourage our family, and we'll put out our homework on what it is we're going to demonstrate. Y'all already pretty much got a good idea from what we brought forth, and praise be to Allah. We're going to see what our family bring back to us. So let me stop sharing and call forth my Grand National Secretary of the State. I like the vibration in this class right here. We learned a lot today. So Islamism without the schism, and you have the floor, Grand National Secretary of the State.
Islam. See, that's what I was about to say. Having already risen, given praise and honor we do, I really enjoyed this class, because of the, just being able to delve down deep and bring forth what comes to mind metaphysically, and being able to see or discern what you know that your ancestors put into something, as opposed to what Rome would say, and that's still part of, getting rid of those shackles and chains that keep one bound down to the manifest, And the question that just came to mind is, why did I allow myself to be bound down? When we see limitations deliberately brought forth to keep us buried in that shallow grave, this is just such a grand class, Dr. Shaheed. Much gratitude for taking the time and go step by step, because the more that we do it, the more that we're going to open up the recesses of our godlike, intuitive, crown chakra, all of this, to be able to, just as Yehoshua did, just as Prophet Noble Drew Ali did, and come forth with, after looking at the symbols and the tools and things of that nature, not being what we're told, but being what we know. So gratitude, Moore. It's been a grand class, and definitely appreciate my Moorish kin on the panel, and to our family online. Peace and love.
And Islam and peace and love to you as well, Grand National Secretary of the State. We give honors to you as well for all it is that you do and all that you will do. I want to give honors to also our family who checked in this morning. The Human Thought, again, our brother William Allen, Noble Hardeman L, Janet Wooten Bay, all of our Moorish kin who checked in today. All right. Well, let us go to our scribes, fellow scribes. Islam, Sister Curta Bay.
Islam, and like the goddess said, I tell you, I always enjoy our classes, and the energy that was there this morning, and I learned so much. And again, gratitude for going over the slate document, and just how you maneuvered us through this whole thing. You just showed us. And I love this. And I want to give honors. I don't think I gave honors to that reading, Dr. Shaheed, coming from our Zooming of a Nation. I give honors to our National Grand Chairman for penning that down, because when the goddess was talking, and it made me think about, I think I read it. I think I was the one read it, Brother Bata Bay one, when the chairman was talking about how they would rather give credence to them coming from a animal versus saying who really made them. And then I asked myself, how in the world did I let them bound me up like the goddess is saying? How did I let somebody of that whose ancestors are apes? Because that, now I didn't say that. That's what they say. They say they come from apes. And how in the world did I let myself get all taken off the count and bound up with their teachings? And you say the powerful thing too, when you say, Dr. Shaheed, you say when we was looking at them, everything that it was coming out negative, like they had a stick in the hand, and like the man pleading, don't hit me and stuff like that. It's almost like they taken this and to try to subliminally ingrain in us to keep us under them. They know what they were doing. They were subliminal. Even with these teachings, they trying to go back and go back to the beginning and get our teachings and subliminally keep them chains of bondage on us to keep us up under their feet. But lo and behold, I tell you, thank you, great God Allah. He say, I'm God. He say he's leading on in victory, and this is assured. And thank the great God Allah for our holy prophet. Oh, our holy prophet. We give him honors. Like you said, we don't worship him, but I sure give him honors. Islam, I'm already fired up now. You know that. So Islam, peace and love for letting me share.
And Islam. And being that you said that, You know, especially when you talk about the subjugation under the stick. You know, it's crazy because our young generation, that's what they refer to the firearms as. Now, they call them sticks and poles. You got the stick, go get the stick, go get the pole. You know, and I didn't think about like that till I just, you know, you said what you said. And so it's crazy that these are the things that are used to subjugate you know, our people. They've been pulling out the stick. They even had songs about it now. Pull out the stick, pull out the stick. And, you know, yeah, all types of stuff. And so when you look at it, it's like, wow, this is crazy.
Yes, Islam.
This is really crazy here. And man, even the Moors is said to have called the original firearm fire sticks, which I always said, you know, that was one of the worstest things they can do, because they gave Rome that knowledge, and Rome used that knowledge to subjugate them with it. They turned it against them, basically.
Islam.
And every year go by, they trying to manufacture something that'll, you know, become more deadly, so to speak. This is a powerful demonstration here, family.
Yeah, subliminal. You know, they subliminally programming us still. So that's subliminally things that they are doing. But praise Allah, the prophet say he snatched the cover off of all of it.
That's right, because this stuff we wasn't supposed to be able to see.
Yes,
we were supposed to be forever and a day.
Yes, that's
you
right.
Know, you can't pull that over on us, including the language.
That's right.
You know, we wasn't supposed to never know this stuff that we talking about. They were supposed to live happily ever after.
Yes.
And the fact that we never find out, we will be going with the narrative because they said so.
There you go. They say. Wow. Islam.
Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. I told them that's Aliism. Yeah. So gratitude, Sister Curta Bay. Honor to you for your measure. And let's call forth our other scribe, Brother Marvin Apple Bay and Brother Bati Bay. Islam, what do you brothers have to say in this closing? Islamism.
Gratitude for calling me. Yeah, I'm Dr. Marvin Evans Bay out of Texas Consulate. Praise and honors have been given. Well, I'm just grateful for being amongst these scribes, being here, absorbing all of this education, you know, I mean, that has been kept from me, you know. So just being able to see, you know, the difference, see the change, see the elevation of the teachings, you know, and to, you know, have it within myself, you know what I mean, to understand what is being said. And I look forward to play back, you know what I mean, to go further into this. But because, you know, you're giving us everything we need to, as the prophet say, save ourselves. I just say gratitude. Islam and peace.
Gratitude and Islam and peace to you as well, brother. Well, what about you, beloved brother Bati Bay? Islam.
And you know, the main thing I'm gonna say is that the fact that we have everything, you know, like you hear the chairman say all the time, you know, prophet brought us everything it takes to save the nation, you know, saying, and right, you know, saying we're taking it and saving ourselves, especially when it comes down to creating our own tongue and going back to what, you know, they say we failed because we weren't honoring you know, our God and, you know, our path. And now that we are coming back into it, where we're actually deciphering all the stuff that they kept as mystic or whatever, or couldn't demystify because they, you know, they lacked that spirit. Then it just shows that, yeah, we actually doing what we're actually doing what we're called to do, in so many words. And the language is one of the biggest is one of the biggest barriers for any nation to have. That way, you can't have somebody come in and try to, speak with a forked tongue when we are the ones that are putting it in plain. And the fact that if we look at our words, even the definitions and how deep one word can go, that allows a person to let that God in them unfold. And that's all I got to say about that. But Islam to all the Moors online, and Islam to you. Peace and love.
In Islam, grand man, peace and love for that special droid. Praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism. Yes, sir. Thank you for making it plain, grand man. It don't get no plainer than that. Yes, sir. So, Islam. All right. Gratitude. Well, Sister Curta Bay, without further ado or delay, you can take us on up there where we already at. Islamism without the schism.
Islam. Powerful class. I'll definitely be listening to this playback over and over again. Islam family, January 15, 1929. A warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We offer love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government or the prophet or violates the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Jew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways by the order of Prophet Noble Jew Ali. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection, therefore, unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This meeting is officially adjourned according to Act 2. Go in peace, Moors. Islam. Great class. Great
class. Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Love Moorish Ken.
Peace and love, Moors. Peace and love.
Moors. Y'all know we love you. Goodness gracious. We feel
Love y'all too.
We come here.
Love y'all.
Praise Allah.
We ain't the scribes of this new era in time. What is it? Y'all go get it.
Yeah, we said it. Yeah, we said it.
Goodness gracious. Man, the prophet is definitely jumping for joy and teaching us from on high, Moorish Ken.
Yeah, he is.
I promise you, we couldn't find these things out if it wasn't for him.
That's right. That's right.
Praise be to Allah for the everlasting gospel.
That's right.
Yes.
In the guidance of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam
without the skills.
All right, Moors.
All right, we'll see y'all I'm loving this class.
Oh yeah. Yeah, come on in here, Sister Wombay.
I know, right? Come on in here. Don't be scared.
The only reason you don't see nobody else here is because these the ones that had to stay in power.
Yes, Lord.
Yes, Lord. We love them all, though.
Yeah,
praise be to Allah.
Praise the Lord,
Islam.
family. Peace and love.
We'll see y'all in
Sunday school.
our Sunday school class, Moors.
Islam.
Islamism.
Without the